sparing any efforts to make education in Ghana of the best quality and fit for the needs of the 21st century. In September 2019, a new standard-based curriculum will be rolled out from kindergarten to class 6 in primary schools. This curriculum is drawn upon the best practices from all over the world and will focus on making Ghanaian children confident, innovative, creative thinking, digitally literate, well-rounded patriotic citizens.
That statement was made on 20th February 2019, 3 years after the introduction of the new curriculum. Many basic schools operated without textbooks. Many education stakeholders expressed concerns about no textbooks in the classrooms. The Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, was compelled to answer questions in Parliament on why the textbooks had delayed.
We're going to do everything possible to make sure the textbooks are there. That is why this time I was careful not to give you a date, because I know my colleague will come and quote me. But all that I can assure you of is that we're at a critical stage where the quality assurance is being done so that I don't have a situation where some T's are not crossed and I's are not dotted to get into trouble with my honorable colleague. So, Mr. Speaker, all that I can say is that the final stage is what we have done now, quality assurance, and our textbooks are going to be available in the classroom.
In July 2022, the government printed and supplied textbooks to schools. My colleague, Papania Ashali, met the Deputy Education Minister, Reverend Intim Fodjo, and asked when all schools will receive the textbooks.
And so we are monitoring and ensuring that the delivery, printing, delivery, distribution must continue as effective at the speed that we are seeing it now. And we are very optimistic that even before the 90-day period, every school and every child will have the required number of books to support their effective learning. It's an ongoing process. We'll collate all the data and then we will let you know.
That the ministry at this point in time do not know that students or schools that have received...
Don't go on that mischief angle, because that will not be...
No, it's not mischief. You mentioned that some of the students have received the textbooks.
The process that is ongoing. We are here at the press house, having seen the production, the packaging and the delivery. And we have given you information of about 60% that have already gone to regions that have also been in the process of being distributed. Some have definitely gone to schools. And we have told you that we will ascertain the particular schools that they've gone.
So we focus on the Kratchi and Chumuru districts of the Oti region. Many teachers found innovative ways of impacting knowledge because they had not received textbooks.
My name is James Asarudi, and this motocar number 2 DA Primary, Basic 4. I'm the one in charge of this class. There have not been textbooks. In fact, I won't say adequate. There's none. Not even a single textbook to boast of. So at times what we do is you have to go around. When you get a passage, you have to run photocopy of it. You bring it for lesson. And then there are some other subjects that we the teachers, we use our personal money to get some 1 2 textbooks on our own that we are using. So that is how we teach over here.
The new curriculum, we don't have them.
You don't have them?
Yes, we went for a workshop, all right. But except this particular term that they brought some few textbooks. And the textbooks only class 1, class 2, and class 3. Few ones. English, only English. We normally write some simple sentences and simple readings on the board for them so that they will copy and they will go home and learn because of the books are not available.
As of December 2022, many schools had not received textbooks. Motoka DA Primary School had not received textbooks.
The issue is that we don't have textbooks. So some of us use our own money to buy it, like this RME. I bought it with my own money. Science with my own money. And the ones I can afford is what I bought. Or maybe you go to the other school and go and borrow books from the other school and come and teach them after that send it back.
We lack books. Subjects that we don't have books. We lack maths books, we lack science books, we lack social and other people, we lack history. In fact, basically we lack all books.
I'm Benny Stogbe, a class 3 teacher, and this is our class. About the textbooks, we don't even have a single of them. That's the new curriculum textbooks. So I bought a golden textbook, that golden English, golden Sahara, it's drawn like according to the new curriculum. So that is what I am using small. I just bought single of them. So I use them alone. They don't have some to use. We are pleading with the government to provide us with the textbooks, the new curriculum textbooks, because we don't have any of them in the school.
Since 2019, the curriculum has been changed, but so far we haven't been delivered any textbook yet. And the ones that I get in the market, that's what I've bought so far. But I bought, that's for my copy, it's not for the students. The one I used to teach them. So, and you know, if you are teaching, there are some things, some pictures and some words the children themselves might see. But it's not, as it's not enough, there is no way they can see those things. And so that's the major challenge we have here.
Dodiokope DA Primary School had also not received textbooks.
You just go online, Google about the subject, you do your own research and come in. You don't have textbooks, so you just go online and Google about the subject, then you come and teach just like that. You don't have textbooks.
At all?
At all. But like, personally, when I was coming, I bought some myself from my place. Some teachers who I know they have, that one you buy it yourself.
Brian Kwanta had some textbooks for some classes.
The textbook we have only few, and looking at the number of the children, each child will not get a textbook. At least 4 in 1, 4 children per 1 book, and those children cannot carry the book home.
In Desala DA Primary School also had not received textbooks. So how will these children be confident, creative, digitally literate and well-rounded citizens as stated by the president when they do not have learning aids? This is just one side of the story.
Schools under trees is a symptom of poor planning. Why did we not know that that community needs a school and proactively put a school there? And just go and approve a school that is under tree. When you were sending the teachers there, didn't we see there were no classrooms? So it's an indictment against us, and we are going to do a better job next time, not to look at the symptoms, but to really uproot the challenge, the problem.
Number 11.
Children here study under very terrible conditions. The district chief executive of Krachi Nchimuru, Nkrumah Kwesi, acknowledges that his district has serious infrastructural challenges.
The infrastructure deficit is huge. We have a lot of deplorable schools. We have high number of schools under trees too. Then furniture deficit. At the last time when I checked, I requested for that data from the District Assembly. We have over 7,000 deficits. So we have over 7,000 children who don't have any furniture to sit on. So that is about half of the student population in the district.
These children endure a lot of challenges, including snakes evading their classrooms.
Class munti ya brepa esram pachan ya na ekunye school kwala no mo de we na ekun ya dudwa na di akum na oba mo nchen pachan net na class ya ade na obai na dudwa di abura akum nti esram pa mo mboai.
But they still show up in school to study. Even without furniture, some carry kitchen stools on their heads and walk long distances all in the quest of getting educated. The pupils are getting ready to write their end of third term examinations. After 10 minutes into the exams, Michael Kwabna Nayak rides his bicycle to school. He said he went to fetch water for the house, but because he was running late, he decided to come to school first. He goes round in search of a spare pencil because he misplaced his. After getting a pencil, he starts to write the exams.
A. Air pollution. B. Water pollution. C. Money.
Michael has no furniture, so he kneels and begins to take the test. Many children in his classroom without furniture assume the same position. It's a very uncomfortable posture, but they endure, from lying on broken benches, sitting on stones, and on the bare floor. Three children cram on a table, making it difficult for them to do independent work. This is very common in many schools we visited. Michael and his friends have a plea to the government.
Honestly, students from my non-fat textbook and bread, any computer, any student for any Dexys.
This challenge is well known to the Vice President of the Republic.
Was it not just a little bit of smart politicking? You know, you noticed a problem had been announced and then you thought, let me just turn up and show that I care.
Let me answer it for him.
And it worked.
Well, you know why? You know why? If smart politicking can get kids to have tables, so be it.
The whole issue that you are looking at children without desks. When I saw the story, honestly, initially, when I heard the story, I could not believe it. I really could not believe it, because if you are looking to be in charge of the economy of this country, inshallah, as vice president and head of the economic management team, one needs to be very familiar with the ground. And I'm doing a lot of these trips to really be able to assess for myself, what is the situation, what are the needs? And so when you go to an area and they tell you that kids are lying on the floor and studying, you ought to go and see it for yourself.
Why can't this be permanently solved?
2 years ago, government launched a program to eliminate all 5,400 schools under trees in collaboration with the Vaco Trust Fund. Then we saw an appeal for funds going on the website, schoolsundertrees.com. Send no more contributions. So I asked myself, it is heartwarming to provide an opportunity for citizens to contribute towards building schools. If government is constricted with cash, that's fine. But I thought that there was no clear plan to raise funds. And that by starting from that point, it didn't show true commitment, because we had to see seed money being put into that investment. We saw government put in from 25 to 330 million Ghana cedis in constructing a cathedral, which is now an underground big mahu. Okay, so we were expecting to see government put the seed money into the 3.5 billion fund that was required to eliminate the 5,400 schools under trees. Today is 2 years. This month is 2 years. We are in the second year. You know how many schools that have been constructed? Less than 20.
Quick facts: there are 68 public schools in the Karachi Inchimuri district. 45% are in a horrible state. This roughly means 31 schools are not fit to be called schools. 7,000 children in the district have no furniture. Nationally, as of 2021, there were 5,400 schools in the trees. The government, supported by the Valco Trust Fund and government, have been raising funds to eliminate schools under trees. But in 2022, only 18 schools have been handed over. Government officials say inadequate funding is the problem. Are you willing to be part of the solution? Jojo Kobna, JoyNews.
Ghana Post embarked on an initiative on Valentine's Day to spread love to all locations. Minister of Communications and Digitalization, Ursula Owusu-Ekufo, revealed that the National Chocolate Day is also a way the country can also generate revenue from purchasing Ghana-made products.
It's an excellent way we have redefined Valentine's Day in Ghana to make it a chocolate day, to help promote our locally manufactured chocolate products, cocoa products, and help the companies, local companies here to expand their access and market share, and to provide all of us with a taste of the excellent world-class products that are produced here in Ghana. The earnings are spent here. It will help grow the economy. They would also pay dividends to government and tax revenue as well to finance our development. That's the only way to grow our economy. We can't continue to depend on aid with others, but we need to trade locally amongst ourselves, grow our own local companies, help them to get more market share locally and beyond our shores. And by working and utilizing our own opportunities in this country.
Director General of National Lottery Authority, Sami Ewuku, revealed that National Lottery Authority will begin a partnership with Ghana Post by the end of February.
Ghana Post has written to us on a corporate lotto marketing company they want to use, and we do not sell directly to the public, so we will sell to Ghana Post through an intermediary, which for me is innovative. And the people get an opportunity whilst they send parcels and they conduct their own services in the offices of Ghana Post, they can have an opportunity to also win a fortune in these offices. And I commend you for that initiative and for knocking on our doors. And it will be the first state institution that the NLA will have direct collaboration with in terms of selling our product from March.
The managing director of Ghana Post Company Limited, Owusu-Ekufo, indicated that using well-known celebrities to spread love to every corner is a new strategy that his outlet has adopted and hopes to do more in the coming years.
The period that we use to spread love, we call it spreading love or carrying love to its destination. Now, during this period, Ghana Post we give massive discounts on all our products and our services. As this year we've added the celebrity deliveries to our packages. So you see with me Mr. Prince David Osei, who is an actor, renowned actor. There's John Domelo, renowned actor. There's Matilda Asare, Dr. Laiki, Bismarck the Joke, Calibos, DKB, Ochame Kwame, several other celebrities who have volunteered their month of February to join Ghana Post in making deliveries to loved ones.
Ghana Post embarked on the deliveries with well-known celebrities in Ghana, with the likes of John Dumelo, Prince David Osei, Calibos, and many more. Jacqueline and Sumaya Bues report read to you.
Sorry.
Welcome back on the AM show. And of course, we kick-started the show this morning telling you about Ghana's schools of shame. And of course, yesterday being Valentine's Day, how we all celebrated it, the Ghana Post style. Time now for us to get into the newspapers. And we're joined by political scientist and the director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asante. Don't you forget, this morning, we'll be taking you back to the domestic debt review, as we give you the scope on that, looking yesterday at what Chief Justice or former Chief Justice Sufaya Kofo had to say. We'll also be telling you a bit about those 18 involved in that tussle with the police at the University of Ghana yesterday. But for now, the news review is brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. We're offering free prostate screening and free female fertility screening. You can locate us all over the place in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard in Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex, in Takrade, Anaji State, Tema Community 22, in Techiman, Hansua, and Esiama in Zema. You want to call us, right? Just reach us on 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. On that note, let's settle for the news review, and we're joined by Dr. Kwame Asante. He is a political scientist, director for the Center for European Studies. Doc, a very good morning to you. Okay, so we'll have to work the connection to Dr. Kwame Asante. If you can hear me, Doc, you may have to unmute. Okay, so we'll get into the papers as we await the connection to Dr. Kwame Asante, starting with the Daily Graphic. And nation records 0 cholera cases since 2020. That's the first story there. It's actually on page 16. Then LGBTQI plus law must consider culture, interest of humanity. That's according to the president. And then repair works on Kolebu roads underway. That story as well on page 16. And domestic debt exchange, 83 billion Ghana CD bonds surrendered for new ones. And pensioner bondholders insist on exemption. I'll be giving you some details of that story. On the back page, MTN holds blood donation exercise, and the World Health Organization, the WHO, presents vehicles, office equipment to new regions. Let's settle for the details now, starting with the banner headline. Domestic debt exchange, 83 billion Ghana CD bonds surrendered for new ones. Pensioner bondholders insist on exemption. And the government, per the story, has received 83 billion Ghana cedis of its existing domestic CD denominated bonds for new ones under the domestic debt exchange program that ended last Friday. That paves the way for the government to open discussions with external creditors on a similar debt treatment towards securing a sustainable debt ratio that can earn the country the $3 billion support from the IMF to stabilize the economy. The Ministry of Finance said in a statement issued yesterday that the government was pleased with the results, as a substantial majority of the eligible holders had tendered in their bonds. Quoting him, he says, "This result is a significant achievement for the government to implement fully the economic strategies in the post-COVID-19 program for economic growth during this current economic crisis," the statement signed by the Minister of Finance, Ken Oforiatta, said. Now let's take a bit of a look at the breakdown. It explained that of the 97.75 billion Ghana cedis in terms of outstanding principal, 84.99 billion Ghana cedis was voluntarily tendered by investors who opted to participate in the program. It said in an appendix attached to the statement that the subscription rate was equivalent to 84.91%. And there are some concerns here depending on how you look at it. The initial figure of 137 billion brought down to 130 billion on the back of different dynamics, those who had been left out of the program. But coming down to this figure, that is where some concerns have been raised, especially as we're talking some 85% of subscription. But it indicated that some investors, including pensioner and individual bondholders who declined the debt exchange, still held about 14.76 billion of the old sovereign paper. Do I hear Dr. Kwame Asante with us?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, Ben.
A very good morning to you, Doc. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning.
So let's start. The story I've been reading from the Daily Graphic says domestic debt exchange 83 billion Ghana cedi bonds surrendered, 4 new ones. Pensioner bondholders insist on exemption. I'm sure that's a story you've been following. But I want you to consider how far we've come in this debt exchange program, what it has yielded. Now, there is some finality to it, or is there? Because the pensioner bondholders are also insisting that they don't just want to be left out, they don't want to just self-exempt, which has its own consequences. They want the issuer to exempt them. And there are so many dynamics they point to. They say that the Finance Minister, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, is fully aware that if you self-exempt, there could be consequences for you going down the road. When payments are to be made, for example, likely payments will be made to those who participated in the debt exchange rather than those who self-exempted. But if the issuer exempts you, the dynamics are very different. We've also heard that tussle between Gabi Okyere-Darko, who is not in government, but who, from all signs, wields quite a bit of power as far as this administration is concerned, with the former Chief Justice Sifai Akuffo. And yesterday she had some interesting words for him. I don't know whether I'm going to repeat them, but I'm sure you followed. What is your take on those two dynamics when it comes to the debt exchange program?
Let me take the one on the debt exchange itself. If you look at how far we have come, in one breath, you can pat government at the back that, yes, was able to work hard and has achieved the target that it set for itself. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
And that's what's easy to do. And in the other breath, the problem is lack of a number of things, including information. We saw the tussle between bondholders, pensioners, and governments, and the rest of them. I thought that those occurrences were needless, in the sense that the main problem that I see from where I sat was purely lack of information and proper articulation of government position on these issues. What we had earlier on was the fact that, government position were articulated, but that the push of government was not friendly. You either take it or leave it, that sort of thing. That did not go down well for people who have really paid their dues. They serve this country through meager salaries. They've been able to put their resources together to support government to finance its business over the years. Now they are on retirement, and the little that they can get out of their investment, government trying to deny them. Obviously, they will hit back at government, and that's why they stood their grounds and did what they did. I believe that they were unfairly treated because one would have thought that if for nothing at all, that group of people who are vulnerable, who are, they need the support of the society, we deny them. What was so painful to me is that as if, apart from a few people who supported the media and certain individuals, we let them to battle this thing themselves. And these were people, these are people who are in very difficult conditions. Some, their health conditions are not the best and all that. We saw them on the streets and all that. That is not fair. Because if you look at advanced societies, these are people states spend a lot of resources to take care of them, all right? They don't dole out the resources themselves to take care of themselves. But the state does that on their behalf. Here, we don't have that, so we understand. But the little we can do for them is that matters of this nature, you sit down with them, have a lengthy discussion, let them take part. Jojo, at the end of the day, you arrive at something that is meaningful for them. But that did not happen. The implications for these things, for politics and for economics, are there for us. Look at what has happened and the way government went about it. My fear is that if we don't take care, it's going to cripple the financial sector that people will lose trust in government and will lose trust in putting their money into something that they call safe, that is government securities and all that. But you and I don't need that because government needs their support at all times. So it is important for government to quickly come back, right the wrongs, and then, if need be, apologize, and then let the system, everybody understand how far we have come, and quickly you move on. That is one sure way that you can get people back into the financial sector to support government, because take it or leave it, government needs support, and we need to support government from that sector so that our government can survive and we also can survive. So it is a two-way traffic, and that we need to do that. All these things did not happen, and I was not very, very happy. What is more is that when you leave the situation like the way we saw it, then you are gradually, telling people that you can't trust your government. But that affects the political psyche of a country, that the people don't trust their government. Government must work at this because it is important that irrespective of the condition we find ourselves, we want to believe that we trust our government and our government will do what is expected.
And it's an interesting point you make, because Dr. Yao Pebi, for example, who came on Joy 99.7 FM, mentioned that he encouraged other medical doctors to invest their funds in bonds. And now he has egg on his face because he feels they are going to lose out, and this may affect their investment choices moving forward. In fact, he even makes the point that other medical doctors who had blown their money, so to speak, were making fun of them, that, look, you said you were going to invest and look at the consequences. So just as you're saying, it now changes the investment dynamics and the investment thinking of ordinary people, young people who may have felt, well, government bonds are always safe. Look at the cocoa bond saga and how there had to be an intervention. People had their coupons paid into their accounts, and then the accounts were withdrawn, apart from those who had taken it out quickly, and then they were asked to bring it back, and then an arrangement was made with the Bank of Ghana for releases to be made. So it's an interesting dynamic. But I want you as well, for the sake of political correctness, or the lack of it, to touch on the banter between Gabi Otredako, who, by the way, is not in government, but like word on the street, you would hear that he's pretty powerful in government circles, cousin to the president, and a former Chief Justice, Ifeanyi Akufo. You would recall that when she made her initial comments, picketing at the Finance Ministry, no official of government responded to her. No one did. But before she made her appearance yesterday, and who knows whether it was on the back of this, we saw quite a number of posts from Gabi Otredako, basically saying that likely she was doing this for publicity, that she should have known better, that she didn't know the issues, and that if she was going to do anything, she should have done it much earlier. And many people have taken exception to that, including Nana Obiri-Boahen of the NPP, who himself said that it was in poor taste. In just about a minute, what would be your reaction to that? Looking at the pedigree of the former Chief Justice and the sort of, I wouldn't call them invectives, but language used by Gabi against her.
I think it was, very unfortunate. One would have thought that Mr. Gabi would have calculated very well and then, be mindful of how he communicates. We didn't have that. It's unfortunate. And see, there's something that we need to understand in this country. Criticisms are not necessarily something bad. In political science, we have what we call the systems theory, which you are aware of, developed by Easton. The basis of this thing is to help deal with policies. So any policy that you bring out, all right, they are what we call the demand sector, the demand section, and then the support section. People demand, or government demand, the fact that there must be a policy. The policy is that let's reschedule our debts and whatnot. All right. You need the support system, and the support can be, people canvassing for it, people even demonstrating against it, people criticizing it. And these are things that support the policy, because you don't want a policy to come up as output all right, and people jettison the policy, kick against it. So you need to, bring on board or take on board all these concerns. And when they do, you get a straightforward policy. That strengthens the political system. This is what is missing in the government analysis of this issue, that you need at all times, that you need to have people like that to criticize you so that you take them in good faith. Let us remember that criticisms are nothing but the oils that grease the wheels of governance, without which any governance process grounds toward a halt. So you need that at all times, especially when you have high-profile people like this, the elite. Let us remember that the elite are critical, mass of people who support the political system over the years. We saw how the role that they played in the independence struggle. People like Edward Akufo-Addo, people like Obechebi Lamte and the rest of them, just from school, they just rush here and then work and make sure that they dismantle the colonial system and the rest of it. You saw the energy, the speed with which independent, we were not prepared to do the bidding of the society, especially under Achampong. How, this elite rose up, especially Association of Professional Bodies. We are talking about doctors and lawyers. They stood their grounds and fought. Nana Akufo-Addo from 1970s has been a staunch, pillar behind human rights and then speaking for the needy and the vulnerable in society. So we saw the role that he and his friends played in the run-up to 1992 elections, where we had the elite consensus that broke the camel's back and brought democracy to us. So you cannot ignore this elite at all in whatever things that you do. Once you do that, you are going to have a backlight. Now, you see
Doc, it would appear the connection is not the best right now. We'll try to reconnect with you and see whether we can hear you better as you make that point. It's not so clear, so we can't grasp what you're saying. But just to move the conversation forward, hopefully we can get Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante back. Let me just try once. Doc, can you hear me?
Is it okay now?
It's better. I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
All
it's
right.
fine with me here. Yeah.
Right. So you can wrap on the point you were making.
I can hear you. Yeah, so as I was saying that
it appears we'll just have to work the connection. It could be internet connectivity. It also could be maybe some interference with calls and all of that. We know how these virtual platforms work. But we'll try to get Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante back. Important point, very important point he was making. Let's make tracks from page 16 of the paper. Nation records 0 cholera cases since 2020. And the country, that is Ghana, has not recorded any case of cholera since 2020. After one case of the disease was recorded in 2019, the Ghana Health Service has said. The progress has been attributed to factors including improved access to potable water and lavatories, public adherence to hand washing with soap and running water, and strict surveillance by the Ghana Health Service. In an exclusive interview with the Daily Graphic in Accra last Monday, the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Esiedo-Bekwin, said improvement in access to potable water and lavatories had reduced risk factors such as open defecation. Now, the country's worst outbreak of cholera in the last 3 decades occurred in 2014. And guess how many lives were actually impacted? 28,975 cases were recorded at the time. And according to Dr. Esiedo-Bekwin, he explains that even people who do not have access to toilet facilities had imbibed the principle of hand washing and sanitizing regularly, thereby reducing their vulnerability to cholera. And that is a very good position in which to be. I was following the news recently and heard how in Syria, for example, about the war situation there, and with this earthquake and all of that, outbreaks of cholera and many problematic areas that they have to navigate. So at least we are thankful that we're not in such a precarious situation, even while our hearts go to our brothers and sisters in Syria and especially Turkey. But there's also repair works on Korle Bu roads underway. Right before I get back to Doc and find out whether his connection is back on track, the Department of Urban Roads has commenced the fixing of potholes and asphalt cracks on roads leading to the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. When the Daily Graphic visited the main road, officially known as the Gaggisberg Avenue, about 10:30 a.m. last Friday, workers of the construction firm carrying out the works, Salidine Company Limited, were seen using bitumen to seal potholes on parts of the road. In an interview, the director of the company, Nuruddin Sali, noted that the work had been going on for about a week. And quoting him, he says, "Immediately, the Daily Graphic story about the state of the road leading to the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital came out last Monday. I was called to the office of the director of the DUR, James Amuk Gottfried, and charged to fix the road, and we are on it. It's been about a week since we began," he said. And he added that all things being equal, the road should be back to its glory after a month. Doc, if you can hear me now. Dr. Kwame Asasante.
Can you hear me too?
I can hear you. I just get a bit of a drag in your voice, and I don't know whether the connectivity is back. But you can wrap up on that point you were making and then get to these two, if you care to share any thoughts on them. Ghana recording 0 cholera cases since 2020 and repair works on the Korle Bu roads, which are underway. I've not used that stretch in a long time, but I hear it's been in a deplorable state. Hello, Doc.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. You can go ahead with your thoughts.
Go ahead with your thoughts. Yes. As I was saying, if you look at this group of people, we have seen in Ghanaian politics the role that they played in strengthening the frontiers of the country's political system. We've seen the role they played during independence, where they rally behind their leaders and then fought the colonial rule. Post-independence, we saw the role they played against military rule, and we can, typical case and point as Achampon regime, where Achampon did not want to listen to the people and all that. They mass up, fought the government. You can talk about Association of Registered Professional Bodies, doctors, followed by lawyers, and then they work critically against the government. At time, Nana Akufo-Addo was around. If you read Michael Quay's book, you saw the contribution that they made and all that. They stood. Nana Akufo-Addo is one of the people who had really stood up against injustice, and then the rest of them. We've seen that. And getting to 1992, you saw how the elite decided that enough is enough. They will stand up against dictatorship, human rights abuse, and all that. Kwame Safo-Edu, people like Edubuahing, who delivered a powerful lecture on the Ghanaian Sphinx, the culture of silence, and that broke the camel's back on the military dictatorship in Ghana, and we had a democracy. So obviously, at all times, you see the elite who are always watching the political space. If they see something, they begin to talk a little, and when something hit them, very much so, then they come out, and they come out in their faction. They are people you cannot ignore because of the weight that they carry within the political space. And then the people who depend on them for direction, and then the people who depend on them for survival and all that. So, and if you look at MPP, its backbone is the group of people who have been very, very important since independence or even before independence up to date. So I was thinking that the calculation was wrong, and that if anything, there was a need to have a dialogue that takes into account the needs of the people, a dialogue that brings to the fore hope, a dialogue that makes sure that participation is open, intimidation is out of question, and that the tactics that you adopt is something that they be proud of and want to defend it at all times. That is how you negotiate your way out. But if you go on that tangent that you attack, you will see the elite coming in. And what I don't want is when you see the elites, putting themselves together. That is what we call the elite consensus. Then that one, you realize that you are going to have difficulty in governing. You saw the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Kweku Osam, coming in.
Right.
You saw people like Pampianim coming in. You saw scholars now coming out. In every society, those who bring about change, who bring about improvement in society, normally start with what? The elite, what we call the elite consensus. You can't ignore that when you want to have a stable political system that will deliver on its promise. So I will urge government officials that in matters of this nature, it's dialogue. It's not threat. It's dialogue. It's not insult. It's dialogue. It's not attacks and all that. So that you run the business smoothly. Let us remember that all of us are important stakeholders in the administration of the state. And that if somebody feels that his interest is being trampled upon or is not taken care of, that person has every right to complain. And when we do, those in government must listen with rapt attention and then see how best they can, handle them.
Let's look at this story and wrap with the Daily Graphic newspaper. LGBTQI plus law must consider culture interest of humanity. That's according to the president. And he has expressed the hope that the Human Sexuality and Identity Bill before Parliament will take into consideration the culture and the societal attitude of the people, as well as the humanity of the people involved. Quoting him, he says, the consequences, hopefully, will be those that will recognize the culture and the societal attitude of the people, and at the same time recognize the humanity of all the people involved. Hopefully, the law that will be fashioned will enable this balance to be carefully struck, he added. He said this when the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Most Reverend Justin Porter Welby, and the leadership of the Global Anglican Communion paid a courtesy call on him at the Jubilee House in Accra yesterday. Just touching a bit on the private members' bill, the president explained that the issue of human sexuality and identity was also a hot and widely discussed issue here in the country, to the extent that it had even produced a private members' bill, the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill 2021, which Parliament was grappling with. And quoting him, he adds in that respect, Parliament is in full grip of it, and I will have my say at the end of the day, he said. The president added that the issues of slavery and human trafficking were worrying because people were trafficked under the guise of securing them lucrative jobs only for them to land in disastrous circumstances in the Middle East and other areas. So interesting dynamics here as the president references the private members' bill, the promotion of proper human rights, sexual rights, and Ghanaian family values. That has been, I wouldn't say stymied, but it's been a long time since we went back to that subject in Parliament. We know about some of the activities that Parliament has to go through before it can be proceeded with. But what is your take on the president's reaction, especially when he says, Parliament is in full grip of it and I will have my say at the end of the day? He will also have to perform certain functions if this bill is to be passed into law. Your take on that, Doc?
I think the president's position is apt. I respect that. It is a well thought out statement because take it or leave it, this subject is a controversial one because of the interest at stake. There are a lot of interest and a lot of entrenched position. But I'm sorry, if you look at it carefully, I always ask myself that there are certain questions that needs to be answered by this state. That the first question is, who is forcing us to pass a bill of this nature? And why is the agency? All right. Is it the case that we don't have a law that deals with such practices in this country? I am posing this question because there are implications. If you back off from this, you are likely to incur the wrath of the international community. All right. Donors will begin to flex their muscles to you and the rest of them. If you want to, throw it away that you are not interested, within the country, you are going to have a problem because if you look at the views in this country, it is clear that most people are not in favor of this. But the question is, if you look at all over the world, controversial policies like this, it is when you are, they are holding your neck to it, that do it, or you suffer the consequence. But on your own volition, if you want to bring it to yourself, and then it turns out to pose a problem for you, then I ask you, I mean, to what end? All right. The $1 million question for Ghanaians to answer is that who is forcing us to pass a bill of this nature? And at this time, is there any deadline that we need to meet or that? That is not to say that either the bill is good or it is not good. But these questions, we need to deal with it if we really want to get our acts to work.
Let's get into the Ghanaian Times newspaper, Doc. Ghana to stop filling landing cards by airline passengers March 31st, that's according to Vice President Dr. Bawumia. Ghana National Fire Service, National Security close in on prank callers, procure a device to clamp them down. That's an interesting story on page 11 that I'll be taking. And this is a troubling one. 93-year-old Sandema Hospital in ruins. Community appeals to government to renovate it. That story on page 24. President inaugurates ICT facility at Dome Kwabenya. And going back to that story we've already dealt with, DDEP, government gets 83 billion Ghana cedis, representing 85% participation. And Information Minister celebrates Chocolate Day with New Times Corporation. Let's go to page 11. Let's start from there with some of the topical issues addressed. And the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, says educational growth remains one of his administration's topmost developmental priorities. This, he said, was the reason behind the huge investment at all levels of the sector by the government, saying the agenda was to ensure a secured future for the Ghanaian youth. The Kwabenya Atomic Model Kindergarten, Ghana's first play-based ICT-empowered KG at Dome Kwabenya in the Ghana East municipality of the Greater Accra region. Now, the project executed by Messrs. BSW International was funded by the Ghana Education Trust Fund, and learning through play has emerged as an important strategy to promote pupil engagement, inclusion, and holistic skills development beyond the preschool years. And that is that first story. You can find pictures there of the president inaugurating this kindergarten facility. But then there's also Ghana National Fire Service, National Security closing on prank callers, procure a device to clamp down on them. This brings to mind a lot of talk from the police sometimes about prank calls that are made, and the Ghana National Fire Service is not left out. So the service, in partnership with the National Security, is to secure telephone console devices by the end of the year to clamp down on people making prank calls for prosecution. To that end, the service would liaise with telecommunications companies to help track such calls. A prank or hoax call is a mischievous phone call made to trick individuals and organizations, particularly those rendering public services. The head of public relations of the Ghana National Fire Service, Assistant Chief Fire Officer Timothy Osafo Efum, disclosed this to the Ghanaian Times in Accra yesterday, and he said the devices would help the service to pick and save more genuine calls during emergencies. Just to give a bit of data so we wrap, he said the service recorded 637,660 prank calls last year against 35,307 in 2021. This is an exponential increment. 35,000 plus in 2021, and in 2022, over 637,000. In fact, that's over what? 602,300 extra calls that were added just last year. What people get from that, no one knows. Any thoughts on these two, Doc?
Yes, I will touch on the prank calls. It's very unfortunate that people can toy with this. All right, it is unfair and it's not proper, and it takes us out of the realms of what civilized society. Right. These things are there to help us when we are in need, we are in emergency. So as soon as you give a call, you are attended to immediately. Why would people want to abuse this? So I support the fire service and national security, and I support the government to give them resources to procure that facility so that they can deal with people in this direction. Whoever wants to take us for a ride, you will be in the grips of the law. But to be able to sustain this, you need constant education on this. The need to do away with such practices we need to inculcate in people from, childhood to adulthood so that people will imbibe that and live with this. There's another interesting story that the minister is celebrating the Chocolate Day. A good gesture. I love it because I, as a cocoa farmer's son, I have spent all my life working under cocoa farms, making sure that we produce cocoa. The little contribution my family will give to society. We've been doing that. But it's unfortunate that we are seeing events that we are seeing now. I want the minister, much as you want to celebrate this day and celebrate cocoa, I want him to turn his attention to the fact that people are destroying cocoa farms, and a time will come he will not get the cocoa to celebrate. So we need to save the trees now. Why am I saying that? People are cutting down cocoa trees and then engaging in galamsey, and government is sitting down adamant without doing anything. I mean, where are you going to get the cocoa beans to produce a chocolate to celebrate in another year or two? We need to save the environment now. We need to save the industry from galamseyers. Government must have the political will to deal with those. Because now I have seen studies and all that where even the water that they are using, all right, to, grow cocoa and all that have become a source of question that they contain cyanide and all that. Cocoa has been the mainstay of Ghana until the recently that we have oil and all that. Cocoa has never been a commodity that you can toy with. It's a national security, product and all that. So I want the state to be very serious about it, fight galamseyers so that people will get the interest to maintain cocoa and get it the quality that we want so that the next year, Mr. Minister can celebrate his chocolate day. The last one is the issue of when the president went to the place to commission this facility about education and all that. Good gesture and all that. But what I expect government to do is that schools of shame, government must turn its attention to that. You can't build ICT centers and all that and develop, and others are in very deplorable state. It doesn't speak well of us. It negates the whole beautiful program that the government has. That, look, there are up to date, there are people who study under trees, there are people whose classrooms are deplorable to the extent that as soon as it threatens to rain, they have to go away. Recently, we had an incident where a school building collapsed on children. These are things that we don't want to hear. They are nothing but sorry stories. And the country must do well to rise above all these things.
Let's wrap with the Ghanaian Times. Two stories, and I'll read one headline. So, Ghana to stop filling landing cards by airline passengers on March the 31st. And all airline passengers traveling to Ghana will, from March the 31st, 2023, no longer be required to fill out landing cards, like we all know is done. According to the Vice President, this is because the same information can be obtained electronically. Quoting him, he says, "I held a productive meeting on improving the competitiveness of the Kotoka International Airport with key stakeholders, including the Minister for Public Enterprises, the Minister for Transport and his deputy, the Ghana Airports Company Limited, Ghana Immigration Service, National Security and Ministry of Interior," he said. Now, in his Facebook post last Thursday, he noted further that the Ministry of the Interior and the Ghana Immigration Service had been directed to ensure that e-gates, so electronic gates, would be operational at the KIA this year for use by passengers using their passports or Ghana cards. So if you're coming back into the country, you don't have to fill the landing card. Let's go to the back page now. And this is a troubling story, even as you speak about Ghana's schools of shame. And to be fair, the education minister, on the back of our last documentary, has engaged in some action. About 5,000 desks have been taken to the Kwandai district in the northern region, where after this documentary was aired, the documentary put together by Jojo Kobina. But on the back page, how about hospital infrastructure? 93-year-old Sandema Hospital in ruins. Community appeals to government to renovate it. And the Sandema Hospital in the Builsa North Municipality in the Upper East region is in dire need of renovation to fit its status as a referral center in the municipality. The 93-year-old hospital, established in 1930 to cater for the health needs of residents, was upgraded in 1970 to a health center and subsequently to a district hospital in 1992, and has since not seen any renovation till date. The Builsa North Municipality has a population of 56 million. Okay, so this can't be 56,571 because the figure here is in the millions, but I believe that is incorrect. During a visit, it was observed that the paint on the walls of the entire facility had peeled off with visible cracks on them, while most of the louver blades were off. The wire mesh and doors of the wards had been torn off, leaving patients in the wards and staff to the mercy of the weather and reptiles. Quote, "We recently killed a snake at the children's ward. In fact, if nurses on duty that day had not seen the snake on time, it probably could have bitten anyone in the ward," a nurse at the children's ward told the GNA. Can you imagine that, Doc? Children's ward with reptiles also operating right here in Ghana. Quick reflections?
Very unfair. And it tells us that we are not a people who take, maintenance seriously. It is not part of our culture. But that is unfortunate. Why do we abandon such a facility? And the last time we did the renovation was 1970. Can you imagine this?
In fact, 1992,
and yet,
I think.
We pride ourselves that we are independent people. 1992, even there, it's bad enough for us to have renovated the place. All right. Health is critical because we need it intact at all times in order to ensure productivity. So this one is basic. We don't need to be told about this. And I don't see why we sit down for these things to get to this stage. But part of the problem, I blame society, you and I. Why is it that we always glorify politicians when it comes to elections? These are things that will force them to handle. Otherwise, we throw them out of power. The people in that area, that what they can do is to force political parties that if you don't do ABC, don't come and campaign. That's all. Once that threat comes and you are ready to ensure that it works, they will run to it quickly and do that. That is the way to go. And I also don't want a situation that, always you need to threaten government before government does the needful. No, it's your duty, for Christ's sake. You need to do that. And that government must be reminded of that it has a duty of providing facilities such as health facility for society.
Right.
We really want to ensure productivity and better life for his.
Doc, we have to go, but I'll just wrap with these headlines. On the back page again of the Ghanaian Times, MTN and National Blood Service partnered to collect 4,000 pints of blood, and crucial, especially as we've been talking about the critical shortages of blood at our medical facilities. The Daily Guide this morning says government will honor coupon payments, maturity principles, and principle here should be PAL at the end. I don't know why the Daily Guide spells principles like to be principled. There's also Atufosin's fate actually hangs as AG closes case that has to do with his ambulance issue. The Finder newspaper, I'm just taking out stories we've not done yet. Police arrest 18 people over disturbances at University of Ghana. And the Daily Dispatch this morning, Afenyo Marking calls for testing and treatment of hepatitis B to be part of NHIS. If for nothing at all, I'd like you to address the issue of the police arresting these 18 people over the disturbances at the University of Ghana. I'm sure you've followed. What's your quick take on that? Hello, Doc. Well, it appears we've lost Dr. Kwame Asante, and we're going to have to conclude the conversation from there. It would have been interesting to know what his take was on that issue with those 18 people getting arrested by the police. Scenes that we could have avoided. But that's how we wrap the news review this morning. Up next, we serve you sports. Do stay.
Good morning. Welcome to AM Sports here with me, Muftao Nabila Abda. It's been 10 days following reports that Ghana player Christian Shu was trapped under rubble in Turkey following an earthquake. Since last week, Monday, the player's whereabouts is still unknown. This is according to his agent, and he's been speaking to Sky Sports, and this is what he's been saying. So we bring to you what Christian Achiu's agent, Nana Secretary, has been telling the media following the disappearance of his player. He says it has been 9 days. This interview was conducted yesterday where he said it has been 9 days since the earthquake and we still have not located Christian. I'm at the quake site in Hatay with Christian's family. The scenes are unimaginable and our hearts are broken for all various reasons. During my time here, we have been able to locate Christian Achiu's exact room location, and we have found 2 pairs of his shoes. That is what he's saying, but they've not been able to find Christian Achiu himself, despite locating his room and seeing 2 pairs of his shoes. This is a difficult situation, and we are extremely grateful to all the Turkish and foreign rescue teams, local civilians and volunteers for their efforts and response in rescuing survivors. However, we urgently need more resources, including a translator on the ground. He added that yesterday, which happened to be Monday, we received information that there were about 5 people who were still alive within where Christian Achiu was, but they need to see the human being. He said their position and influence accompanied with their local knowledge would be extremely helpful. We implore the president of the club and mayor of Hatay to provide additional resources to speed up the rescue as a priority. That is what the agent of Christian Achiu has been saying following the disappearance of his player, which happened last week, Monday. It's been 10 days since the incident happened. His whereabouts still unknown, but 2 pairs of his shoes have been found.
Oh, taking up.
Things are moving. He said, now let's hear from former Black Stars goalkeeper Fatau Daouda. He's been speaking about the appointment of Chris Hughton as the next head coach of the senior national team, the Black Stars. According to him, the decision of the Ghana Football Association to name the former Newcastle and Norwich City boss is in the right direction.
The team, when they went to the World Cup, even during the qualifiers, now the national team, the Blasters, we have the same technical team. It's only Otuado is out. So I think they are going to continue with their philosophy. We saw where they play in the World Cup. For a very long time, you don't see the Blaster playing a game, starting build up from the back. But in this World Cup, they did it. When coach went there, when Otuado was, I know they will do it because they're all from this organization. So trust me, with the intelligent players that the national team have now, young guys who are playing, running, will do well. We'll play like when we used to play football before, how people know Ghana to play. We are going back to it. And then, inshallah, you know, to win a game, you have to get a formula. Some of the formulas are how to pass, how to press, how to defend, a lot. So you have the formula, you winning is possible. Sometimes you may have the players, but you can't win trophy. Why? Because they don't use the formula. That can give you the win. You understand? So I think the FA have done well by giving the job to Chris. He was here before. Didn't invite him to come here. He was happy to come and see how the structure here is. So I think he's a nice man. I don't know him, but I've watched him from afar, what he did in the English Premier League and other teams. So I think we should just support him, and then all of us will achieve, and then we'll get what we want for the country.
And on the same national team, the Black Stars, former defender of Manchester City, Julian Lescott, he's been acknowledging the quality of the senior national team. He says he's a keen follower of Ghana football and believes that the Black Stars is a very strong brand. He's been speaking to my colleague, Michael Queno.
The Black Stars, I'm aware of who they are and what they represent, and the progression over
10, 15 years now. Obviously Michael Essien and stuff, the bigger names, and obviously Suleiman Tari's. I'm aware of the stars and how inspirational they are for Ghana as a country and as a whole. And Africa, I think that's one thing that impresses me is as much as they represent Ghana or other players represent other countries, they represent the continent of Africa, and you're all kind of warm to that, and that is impressive because I don't think there's many, if any, other continent in the world that recognises their talent as well as Africa.
Oh, great. And right now you're, let's say, focusing more into youth football, and that brings this. With Wolves, you won Player of the Season twice from the academy. You're part of a very prestigious group of people. Not many do that in the Premier League, especially. And so, looking at youth football, you mentioned Ghana being a very big brand, but at the moment, it's a bit difficult on the local football terrain because some things are not being done right. Which aspects of youth football do you think need to be focused on more to ensure that the talents are reaching their full potential?
It's a tough one, again, because I'm sure there's other countries that feel the same in regards to developing talent, and everybody, when it is developing, that has a limited amount of patience, and I think that's the most important thing. People need to understand that not everyone develops at the same speeds at the same time, so if one player is at their peak at 18, that doesn't mean every other player should be the same. As I said, it wasn't until later on in players' careers that they hit their peak, so patience is key for me in regards to developing and understanding the fundamentals. Obviously, the hard work, it goes without saying. I think there's a lot of talent in Africa and everywhere else, but in regards to having a career, it's consistency for everyone. I think the message is the same in regards to the hard work, desire and consistency.
So besides your 2 Premier League titles, which obviously among the highlights of your career, unfortunately you also suffered periods of relegation. The Southampton comes to mind, and also with Wolves, although that season you were a bit injured and all of that. And at the moment we have one youth player, Kamaldeen Suleiman, I just completed a move to Southampton. You had from Rennes, about 20, club record fee, 25 million euros. And at the moment, with where the club is now looking like with this young player coming in, banking hopes on him to ensure that the club escape relegation. So how is that feeling, playing the club which is battling to fight relegation?
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. There'll be an expectation, but I'm sure the expectation the club and everyone else puts on him won't be the same as he puts on himself. I'm sure he expects to do well and hopes to do well, so hopefully that is the case for him. And it's not a short-term project. They haven't signed him just for the last 6 months of this season. The model that Southampton are using is similar to the one of Dortmund in regards to trying to recruit younger players to try and develop them. So I'm sure that's the case with him, and I'm sure he just wants to play. The opportunity to play in the Premier League, regardless of who it's for, is a big opportunity for everyone. So hopefully he does well and shines a great light on Ghanaian football.
The full interview will be aired on Sports today when you do join us at 2 p.m. That was Julian Lescott speaking to my colleague Michelle Queno. Let's talk some tennis now. And Ghana's wheelchair tennis team, they were robbed in Nigeria, and 3 of them were badly injured. They've been narrating their ordeal to Joy Sports.
Basically, they are currently in Accra now. They got into the country last night at 11 p.m. and so they are currently in Accra now. The one who had the severe cuts with the windscreen glasses is being sent to the hospital now, and he's currently undergoing some treatment. We just hope that he would be able to. It looks like a minor cut though, but we wouldn't want to take any chances. So he's going to the hospital now, and they are attending to him now. Apart from that, the other players were having some back pains, and then we got some physios to do some massaging for them. But currently, as I speak to you, all of them are at the Accra Sports Stadium tennis court now, waiting for their colleague to return from the hospital.
I mean, are they receiving any psychological support? Because to have gone through this, obviously they're going to have a bit of trauma. Have you made arrangement for them to receive any psychological support before they even return to their families?
So for now, because we have limited funding for such services. So we've not really gotten any professional understanding. But however, when the news broke up, we've gotten calls from Nigeria. That's the president of the Nigerian Tennis Federation called to sympathize with us and also asked that if he can do anything for us. So that was the first thing we got from Nigeria, which I think is very, very good. And then we also had a call from the International Tennis Federation World Tennis Department. And then they also had a call with us, and they also tried to see how best they can help us. So we've informed them that yes, they are now in Ghana now, and then they are seeing how best, if in case there are any help we need, then they'll try to help us. Because trust me, funding is very difficult for the implementation of world tennis here in Ghana. And we only get support from the International Tennis Federation. It's very hard for us to even get support from our own mother institution, that is the Ghana Tennis Federation, or the National Sports Authority, or the Ministry of Youth and Sports. So we heavily depend on the International Tennis Federation for some of these supports. The president of the National Parliament Committee of Ghana has also called to sympathize with the team and is trying to see how best he can also support us. And then we have also other tennis development partners, plus the PM Sports. There's also some executive from the Ghana Tennis Federation Board has also called to see how they are faring. But we've not really received any professional attention from let's say the psychologist or any other group.
Well,
it is an election year for the Ghana Football Association, and lots of conversations have been happening behind the scenes, and some interesting names have popped up as potential aspirants for the position of president of the Ghana Football Association. Maybe as and when they settle on who they would want to support to contest for the position of the president, we would be here to tell you the story. But one of such people is the Chief Executive Officer of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Nanayo Amponsa, and his Administrative Manager, Emmanuel Newton. That's rare. That's all we have for you this morning for sports. You can head on to myjoyonline.com and read some more sports stories.
On Monday, these pensioners had one last hope that the finance minister will pronounce them exempted from the domestic debt exchange program. But government, in its latest statement Tuesday morning, rather reiterated its unflinching stance that participation in the domestic debt exchange program remains voluntary. Convener of the group, Dr. Edu Anani Entry, says they deserve a response from government.
Why didn't the government tell the pension funds that just opt out, it is voluntary, just opt out and I'll pay you your bonds? Why didn't the government tell the medical people just opt out, become a self-exempt person and I'll pay you your. The government or the minister knows that there's a difference between the issuer exempting you and you exempting yourself. When the issuer exempts you, he has added responsibility because you were not part of the bonds that the issuer says he may not be able to service. So that is where we want to be, that we want the issuer to exempt us. Now the issuer has gotten the 80%, so he's going ahead with the program.
Reacting to the statement, the former Chief Justice, Sophia Ekufo, registered her disappointment at why government is finding it difficult to respond to their request.
A few days ago, similar letters that had been written to the minister have been responded to, whereby he has categorically exempted other groups. Why? And you know, when I cannot fathom the reason for something being done in a particular way, especially when it's been done for others, but it's not being done for others, I start getting suspicious. I've grown to be to the age where I've seen it all, and therefore I easily become suspicious.
She also reacted to Gabi Asariochiridako's tweet, which sought to downplay the essence of her involvement in the protest.
He can decide on. He doesn't decide for me what I need to do and what I do not need to do. It's as simple as that. I don't have time for things like that. People like that are not important to me or to my life. It's a disturbance. That's all I've got to say about it. Listen, sticks and stones may break my bones, but blah blah will not hurt me. No. And insult is the weapon of the pin-brained. That's all I've got to say. I'm not going to trade words with pin-brains. I'm sorry.
She says government's continuous resistance to make the call is an affront to the image of the country.
The word bond is not used as a casual term. Bond means tied to. Yes. And when a government's bond can be tossed up and down, the tides like that, flip-flop, that's a serious thing. For me, my problem with this whole thing is the destruction of the image of this nation, and something that is being done which will last for generations. It took a long time before normal Ghanaians would even buy anything that is government, because there was always the suspicion, tomorrow you don't know what will happen.
The group continues to appeal to government to exempt them from the program.
GMA has received such a letter. TUC Pensioner Funds, UTAC has received such a letter. So we are waiting to receive that letter saying that we have been exempted from this DDEP.
We have already written seeking the exemption. So if he comes to make the press conference, I believe he will first have to talk to us before he talks to them, before he goes to the world. If I write to you and you decide to respond, you respond to me before you respond to the world. So it will mean he will write to us and then make a press conference and say, I have even written. And I believe that's why, if he decides to have a press conference, I believe he will do that. He will write.
The pensioner bondholders resume tomorrow to continue their protest. James Kwesi Aveji's report read to you.
Welcome back on the AM show, and we're talking money matters as our first story, big story. The Ministry of Finance says more than 85% of eligible bondholders have registered for the domestic debt exchange program. This, the ministry believes, brings it one step closer to securing a $3 billion International Monetary Fund bailout. Now, what's Parliament's role in ensuring the DDEP is sustained so Ghana reaps the benefits thereof? We'll be having that all-important conversation with Murtala Mohammed. He's Member of Parliament, Tamale Central. He is in the studio with us. We also have Collins Adomako Mensah, Member of Parliament, Ifija Kwabre North. He joins us virtually for this conversation. I would like to start with Collins Adomako Mensah, since you are on the virtual platform. A very good morning to you, sir. All right, so I just wanted to salute him and welcome him aboard the conversation. But let me come into the studio. Murtala, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Beautiful suit.
Lovely, attire.
Made in Ghana.
Kaftan that I was admiring yours even before he saw mine.
It's done by one gentleman, Agambiri.
Right.
Very beautiful, yeah.
Lovely bit.
Thanks.
Thank you. Let's start talking about your constituencies. I always, when I have members of parliament here, I always want to get into the constituencies. So there is no room for you to hide. And if you're doing some great things as well, you can bring them up. Not to take too much time on that, but how is your constituency doing?
It's doing pretty well. I mean, we have a lot of projects we started, and some of the projects we started before I won the elections. You know, I'm a development planner by profession. And so before I got elected, even as a parliamentary candidate for the NDC, I was able to identify the challenges confronting the constituency. I've been living in that constituency. Identify the challenges. So the moment I got elected, I started the work. You know, I had interactions with the Metro Education Director, who told me that the average pass mark within the Tamale Metro was 32.3%.
Wow.
And so when before I got elected, I started free extra classes for SHS students. But when I had interactions with him and he gave me the and it's been so for 10 years. So I felt that there was the urgent need for something to be done. I got some teachers, you know, within the constituency, and we had free extra classes for the BEC student for 6 months. And in fact, the novelty was that I didn't just leave them with the classes and mathematical sets for the exams. I provided the students with TNT for the 5 days they were engaged in the exams. And when they wrote the BEC last year, when the results came, the average pass mark rose from 32.3% to 50.9%. Wow. That was monumental. We had it again this year. And this year, then, in fact, last year it was 1,225. This year, when we had the class, it was 1,780 plus. And I provided each of the students with mathematical sets and also money for TNT. The information I'm getting is that the average pass mark is moving around 60+%. And for me...
So it's incremental?
That's a direct correlation. Mind you, I also have a scholarship for medical science students for Tamale Central. Last year, we paid the fees of 10 medical science students. And this year, we paid their fees. They are in second year. You know, when we paid last year, and then second year, we paid again, and we paid another fresh 10 medical science students. So currently, we are financing 100%, 20 medical science students within Tamale Central area.
How are you doing that? From your common fund?
Not necessarily my common fund. I told you that I'm a development planner, so I do some savings. Last year, I knew how much I had to pay, so I knew that how much I was going to pay, and I had some interactions with some of the institutions. Unfortunately, this year the fees was just, you know, it increased.
Exorbitant.
Yes, exorbitant. But we were able to do that. What I did, and let me also state, I bought some foodstuffs last year. I kept them, and during the harvesting season, and by the time they were about planting, that's the time the prices go high, then I sold them. But I didn't buy foodstuff that people eat because it's un-Islamic. To buy things that people... I bought soybeans last year.
Okay.
So the soybeans is not a staple food. Islam says that you can't buy a staple food.
So you shouldn't hoard, basically.
You shouldn't hoard, yes. So what I did was soybeans. Then when we sold them, actually we had to add some money to be able to pay the second year fees and the fresh students. My objective is that by next year we should have 30 medical science students. Next 2 years, 40 medical science students. As the number increases, the pressure also exists. So I'm looking at...
I see that what you're doing is also similar to what the education minister, member of parliament for, is it Bosomtwe?
Yes, I think he does something.
He's been doing something like that, engineering.
Yes.
And now he's also focused on the STEM schools and all of that.
What we're also doing was we're looking at the health facilities. I was able to get the Qatar charity. They provided a clinic. Qatar charity. Right. They provided a clinic, and I finished the clinic. I'm having another project at Sakasaka, another clinic that I'm building from my MP's common fund. I provided 20 mechanized boreholes. In fact, Tamale currently, and I would urge you to let your reporters go to, within Tamale Metro there isn't water. Before the elections, I provided 5 mechanized boreholes. After the elections, I used my common fund, and I'm still paying actually. 20 mechanized boreholes.
It is clear there's a lot you're doing. I'll be going to Collins Adumako Mensah shortly, but you mentioned something that piqued my interest, the extra classes.
Yes.
And what you had to pay in there. You know, in recent times, Professor Stephen Ade, former rector of GIMPA and all of that, spoke about the basic educational level. And he said that, sack all of them, get head teachers who fit the bill, who can do the work, let them get their own staff and take it from there. And he points to one of the things that a lot of these schools, public schools, you have teachers who should be teaching everything. They will not do that. They'll reserve some for extra classes, and there they get their money. What is your just very quick take on that?
I'm a teacher, you know that. I'm a teacher by profession. So I am particularly concerned when there is some criticisms are considered not to be entirely, fair on teachers. If you look at the extra classes some of these teachers organize, they organize them during breaks when students are on vacation, and some of them after classes. I will not subscribe to any attempt by any teacher to, avoid teaching students in normal classes hours, and then instead teaching them on with extra classes. Some of the schools, because they aren't able to finish the syllabuses, particularly the in-out, program that they have organized classes, and students would have to pay. In my case, I pay the teachers. I do it free. As a matter of fact, I provide the facilities, I pay the teachers, and at the end of the classes, I provide the students with not just mathematical set, but TNT for the 5 days to engage in the exams. But where teachers would have to substitute the normal extra classes with the normal classes,
which is what they do
for the purposes of money, I think it's just unacceptable.
All right, thank you for making that point. Collins Adomako Mensah, Member of Parliament for Efija Kwabre North, also joins the conversation. Mr. Mensah, a very good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, my brother, and good morning to my very good friend Mutala, who's on a campaign spree this morning. Who's on a campaign spree this morning. But of course, I mean, Mutala is one of the very, very vibrant members of Parliament. As young as I am when I entered Parliament, he's someone I look up to. He's a very good friend, very approachable. Anytime I meet him, we have a long discussion about politics. And I know primaries is just around the corner. And in as much as I'm in MPP, I'm hoping that he sails through his primaries peacefully.
Thank you.
Then, of course, when we meet him during the general election, we will humble him.
You will humble him during the general election.
But I wish him well. I wish him absolutely well. I mean, what he's talking about is fantastic. I do something similar in my constituency. Prior to the establishment of the free SHS program, the percentage of intake from JSS to XS in my constituency was just about 45%. What it means that if about 100 people go to write the BC exam, only about 45 students out of the 100 proceed to the secondary level, and that was a problem. Immediately after the free SHS was implemented, that figure increased. The latest figure I have just yesterday, I spoke to the Director of Education, is 95%, which is very, very significant. I have 4 secondary schools in my constituency. The latest one was just absorbed by the government just the last quarter of last year. So I have 4 secondary schools in my constituency. And the problem I had, similar to what my brother is talking about, was about the quality of the results. And so immediately I came in, I had a discussion with the Director of Education, and he told me that one of the major problems that they have is that the students very good in class, but they don't even know how to answer the questions. How to even answer questions in the examination was a problem. So what I did was to engage some external examiners. And every year, I've been doing this for the past 2 years, I bring external examiners from Accra, Kumasi, just to take them through how to answer questions. And it will amaze you that the pass rate has increased for the past 2-3 years from about 60%, and the latest one we just got, we now have about 86% pass rate, which is very, very significant for me. And as part of the motivation, what we did was to pick up, the first thing I did was to pick the top 10 best students. And if you know where my constituency is, this is Efija Kwabre North. I mean, I have some of the students who have not even visited Kumasi before. So the first thing I did was to bring the top 10 students to Kumasi to have lunch and just to motivate them. And then last year, we managed to bring 15 of the top best students to Accra. And we got the opportunity to meet the Vice President. And it was a very, very colorful event, very, very motivated. Because of that, I realized that the result this year has changed significantly because everybody wants to come to Accra. And so I'm happy for my brother. I think what he's doing is fantastic. I am also thinking about engaging science students. I've been having discussions with the DC and the District Director of Education to get me best students, at least 5 or 10, who are very good and can pursue some science courses. Who knows? In the next 15 years, we can have about 15 to 20 doctors in the constituency. So, kudos to my brother. I'm so excited for him. And as I said, I wish him very, very well in the primaries, but he'll be humble during the general elections.
He's garnishing his good words with some propaganda. That's understandable.
but it's really good to have you, Collins. It's been a while, and I just like the way you go about things. So it's good to have you back on the AM show. It's been a while, and especially when you are paired with Mutala. Usually there's a lot of fireworks. So I'm looking forward to some interesting discussions this morning.
Anyway, I told him there is some similarities between he and the president.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. The only difference is that he's not using the glasses, but the height.
The laughter dancing around your eyes makes me realize there may be something mischievous. But
honestly, he's a very sharp guy, very, very intelligent, and objective. I mean, you rarely find such within the MPP.
It's good the way both of you from different sides of Parliament are commending each other. It's good to know. But let's get into the thrust of our discussion this morning. We're focusing on the domestic debt exchange program, how far we've come. It's sailed, that ship has sailed already, but what are the dynamics? In Parliament, where both of you are, the Minority Leader, Dr. Kasiela Toforson, had some words to share in recent times on the DDEP. Remember that the Speaker, Alban Bagbin, had called the Finance Minister to come to Parliament for a briefing. We've heard from Dr. Toforson saying that this process can be halted from Parliament. What exactly did he mean? Let's get into the details. Let's watch that clip, and after that, we'll continue the debate in the studio.
Explain, especially when it's coming on the day of the settlement of the domestic debt exchange on the Valentine's Day. Would that change anything for the millions out there who definitely are desperate for somebody to intervene on their behalf?
Evans, it has to change something. It has to change something for a number of reasons. One, the budget as approved, we appropriated for the minister responsible for finance an amount for the minister to use to service our domestic debt. The minister cannot unilaterally, after Parliament have proven that kind of money, decide not to pay those debts as and when they fall due. So, for example, on the 6th, we have appropriated for you. So the Appropriations Act gives you a backing for you to pay, and you have still defaulted in the payment of 4.2 billion Ghana cedis.
But that point you make is it's a grave one.
Yes, in what sense?
I mean, Parliament has already.
Yes,
the money is there.
It's there. We have appropriated for him,
and yet
he has failed to pay.
Has happened.
So he needs to give us an understanding why he's failing to do that. Again, in the same budget statement, we have appropriated for him to be able to pay for the Eurobonds and other foreign debt.
This year?
This year. So they are all in the budget.
But do we have the money? Or you can budget for something, but you don't have it.
But has he informed us that he doesn't have the money? The minister cannot unilaterally, vary those terms and conditions without coming to Parliament and seeking permission from us. He has done all of this without us.
He's already expecting for me to come and seek permission, because that's not what it is.
Okay, so as to he can come, not only brief, but to seek permission. Because he can't be, he's restructuring Ghana's debt, not his personal debt.
But this ship has sailed. I mean, it's not.
Well, we'll see. Probably we can stop the ship midway, the sailing.
How?
Probably. Let's wait and see what will happen
but that
on Tuesday.
Sounds impossible.
But let's wait and see what will happen, because I believe that this debt restructuring must be crafted in such a way that certain individuals should be exempted.
Such as?
Individual bondholders and pensioners. And from day one, you will notice as part of my debate in the 2023 budget on the floor, you can go back to it, I had cautioned that pensioners must be ring-fenced in terms of the restructuring of this debt. And you can go back to countries where this has been done, and you see the exemptions that we are seeing. In one breath, the minister informed us that individuals are not part of it. The following week, the individuals are part of it. So you can see flip-flopping of policies. And it's a government that doesn't really plan before they take decisions.
So that is the Minority Leader in Parliament, making the point that looking at the appropriations bill, provision has been made for these payments to be issued. So why are they not being issued? The Finance Minister, has he said that government is cash-strapped and cannot meet these obligations as they fall due? And the second point to be made, he stipulates, or he posits that even if this were going to be followed, individual bondholders and pensioners had to be ring-fenced, according to his own wording. They had to be protected. But in this instance, they are being put out there and made to face the same situation that others are facing. I'll come to you, Collins, first. When you listen to what the minority leader says. You are a member of parliament. What do you feel would be the approach in terms of tackling a situation like this in parliament? Hello, Collins.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Yes, yes. So let me say good morning to you again, my brother. And then I just listened to my very good friend, Dr. Atofos.
Right.
And he makes the point that once appropriations have been passed, it means the money is there. No. And that is where I beg to differ a little bit. Because
I think he makes the point that the appropriations have been made and the finance ministry has not stated that it does not have the funds to meet these obligations.
Well, my understanding of the budgets are all projections, as you know. We project to get certain amount of money, and based on that, we project how we are going to use the money. That is basically what the budget means. And so if we appropriate that we intend to use 20 billion, let's say 20 billion for debt payment, it does not mean that the money is there. It's just that we anticipate to get a certain amount of money, out of which we're going to use about 20 billion for the debt restructure. So it does not necessarily mean that once that's been appropriated, the money is there. I mean, appropriation debt gives you a legal backing to spend to a certain limit. That is my understanding of what appropriation is. So it doesn't mean that the money is there. In any case, my brother, I remember that in the budget, DDE, debt exchange, was mentioned. So the minister gave a clue or indication that government intends to have this kind of discussion with bondholders or with our debtors to see how best they could restructure. I agree with him on the issue of individual bondholders. I have personally made this point on several platforms, and I think that government should be able to exempt individual bondholders, pensioners, and all that. And reading the last communique from the ministry, it tells me that government has given some commitment to ensuring that individual bondholders who opt out of the exchange should be rest assured that on maturity, their coupons and their principal payment will be made.
Are you referencing, just to clarify, are you referencing the statement from the finance ministry, the latest one, I believe, from yesterday, which stipulates in points 3 and 6 that pensioner bondholders and others will receive their coupons? Is that what you're referencing?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, that should bring some kind of comfort to individual bondholders. And so if you decide to opt out of the exchange, you should be rest assured that when your coupons mature or when your principal is due, government is promising that the payment will be made. That for me is quite refreshing. But I do not agree entirely with my very good brother Atofos that once appropriation has been passed, it means necessarily that the money is there. And therefore, government should find a way of getting the money to pay them. You made a very interesting point. I think the interviewer made a very interesting point. What if government does not have the money? We all know that currently, government is having some challenges with its fiscals. And I mean, everybody is aware of this. The president himself has said that, yes, we are in a little bit of crisis, or we are in crisis. The minister in his numerous interactions has indicated that, yes, we are facing some crisis situation. And so that we should have this discussion in the context of that particular situation that we find ourselves in. But yes, I believe very strongly that individual bondholders should be exempted, and I'm excited about the communication from the ministry that reassures individual bondholders and pensioners that when the coupons are due, they will be paid.
Those are your initial reactions, but speaking to Dr. Enum, I think, who speaks for the individual bondholders, the pensioners, he has made this point that there are different dynamics to this entire ball game. If you self-exempt, it is very different from being exempted by the issuer. Yesterday, we had quite a conversation on that. But the very basics of that are that if you self-exempt, there could be consequences and you could be treated in some unfavorable ways compared to when the issuer itself exempts you. So he makes the point, for example, that if at some point government says we're strapped, cash strapped basically, but we've got the sum of money and we're going to make some disbursements per the different categories and timelines we've given to those who have subscribed to the new bonds, so to speak, those people would be paid first, could be paid first, even before they are attended to. So yesterday when we went through the Ministry of Finance's statement, Their response was that we have no guarantees. In the financial sector, there are certain considerations if you self-exempt, which is why we want the issuer to exempt us, because the dynamics are different. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm not too sure. I didn't follow the discussion you were talking about yesterday, but I understand if anybody is skeptical about the promise from government that when your coupons are due, we are going to make payments, especially in this challenging times. But this is where we have to find ourselves. And listening to you, the point you keep making is that the government may, based on the financial constraint that we have, government may. I will.
But you do recall, Collins, that the point has been made that if you don't subscribe, the picture has been painted. If you don't subscribe, there could be unforeseeable consequences in future. Even in the finance minister's rhetoric, encouraging people, there has been that lilt in there that, look, there could be consequences if you don't subscribe to this. You cannot run away from that.
But I believe that we've moved away from that particular stage when the fear was anticipated. I think we've moved away. Now the minister, on several occasions in the past 2 weeks, I've listened to him on Joy. He has been interviewed on Joy by one of your colleagues. I've also read from the communique that has come out an emphatic statement from the ministry that they intend to make due their obligations when they fall due, based on the agreement as in terms of coupon payments and principal payments. I think for now, let's give them the support, or let's give government the support and believe what they've said. I understand if anybody is skeptical when government promises to make some payment to you and you feel that based on past experiences, you are not too comfortable. But this is where we are. The government is saying through the ministry, they are saying that when the payments are due, they intend to make the payment. I think people should trust the statement that has come out from the ministry. If indeed at the time of payment there's a default, that will be a very serious issue, because then you would have breached some confidence level that you have with the people. That will have its own repercussions. I'm not too sure the ministry would want to toe that particular line. I believe very strongly that, yes, these are very, very difficult times, and I believe we all must accept that we are in very, very challenging situations. Government, my understanding was that was targeting an 80% participation by the close of Friday per the letter that was released by the ministry. We've reached about 85% participation. I don't know whether to call it good news, because of course, if I am a bondholder and I have to sign up to different terms, I'm not too sure that could be good news to me. But of course, in terms of our fiscal space, that could be some good news to the government. So it gives government some fiscal space to do other things. So yes, I understand the frustration. I mean, I wouldn't wish to see my grandmother or my mother seated at the finance ministry picketing over an investment that he or she has made for the past 20 or 30 years. I wouldn't want to see that. So I sympathize with all the people who are frustrated about this whole process. But unfortunately, this is where we are, and I believe that for now we all have to rally together to come to the end of this turbulent situation.
Very quickly on this, in some maybe just about a minute before I come to Murtala in the studio, I'd like to find out from you. So, when the minority leader says that they can halt the process in Parliament, what do you make of it? And secondly, looking at hauling the finance minister before Parliament to answer certain questions on the DDEP, what are your expectations there? Those two quick points, very quickly.
Yes, the minister was supposed to be in Parliament yesterday. When we got to Parliament yesterday, I got information that he had requested to come to Parliament on Thursday. Thursday is just tomorrow. I'm sure his presentation will throw more light on the whole processes of the DDE or EP, and I'm sure after his presentation, it's an opportunity for the House to debate it. And I believe very strongly that the Speaker may direct the Finance Committee to have a second look at the statement and come back to the plenary for other discussion. So yes, I'm all for the minister to come to Parliament in the interest or under the principle of transparency. He should come to Parliament, brief Parliament on all that has gone on throughout this whole process, and then it gives everybody an opportunity to have an informed discussion when time is due. I'm not too sure when my very good brother Ato Forson, the minority leader, talks about the processes to halt the DDE. We've been told that the DDE has expired, has ended. It ended last Friday. I'm not too sure what processes he wants to initiate to halt the whole process. If I listen to my very good friend Ato Forson, the basis for his calling of the halting is that Parliament has already approved the Appropriations Act, and therefore, once we appropriated a certain amount of money to take care of debt repayment, if government, for one reason or the other, does not want to make that payment at this particular point in time, they should come back to Parliament for another discussion.
Right.
I'm sure when we get to that bridge, we are going to cross it. But as I said, I disagree with him on that particular aspect when he says that appropriations necessarily mean the money is there. We all know that.
Right. I think that point you've made already. So let's not keep flogging that horse. But thank you for making that point. Let me come into the studio, Mutala. So we know as of now, some interesting dynamics are coming to play. We were looking at 137 billion cedis in terms of the entirety of the bonds and all of that. All of a sudden, we're looking at 80+%, and we're looking at only 83 billion. That is already something that some of us are looking into. Have some people been exempted somehow that we do not know of? What has happened? Because the initial exemptions brought us down to about 130 billion. What has happened from there? But when you look at this entire development, now it has concluded. Pensioners are still picketing, at the Ministry of Finance. And we've had the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice, Sufai Akufu, there having some choice words for the Finance Minister and lately for Gabi Daku. She has threatened that if they are included by force, she would sue, or they would sue. What's your reflection on all of this?
Good morning, and good morning to my brother and friend. And permit me to thank him for those kinds of words. And it's humbling, And permit me also to say good morning to the good people of Tamale Central. I thought he was going to tread on the path of speaking from his heart and sincerely. Unfortunately, he engaged in the politicking and then the propaganda. Even when he made the point that Honorable Ato Forson says that the approval of appropriation or the passing of appropriation means there is money. You corrected him, yet he still goes on that tangent. And you observe how he concluded, that he disagreed with Dr. Ato Forson when he said that appropriation means there is money. He never said appropriation means there is money. He never said that. As a matter of fact, he never said anything that looks like even, hinting, or that even hinted that he meant that appropriation means there is money. What he said is that running a government is not like running a private property. And therefore, the Minister for Finance cannot just go and expend money without being asked to do so by Parliament. Parliament approved the budget. And after a budget is approved, for the minister to be able to expend what is captured in the budget, the appropriation bill must be passed. So even if you approve the budget without appropriation, the minister or the government cannot expend any money. That is one. And the reason why there are such laws is for the purposes of checks and balances, separation of powers.
For accountability as well.
Accountability and transparency. Parliament is the house of representative or representation of the people. You cannot have the over 32 million Ghanaians taking a decision. And that is why the 275 members represents them. And therefore, if a minister wants to expend money which is not his, it is not the Furiates money. The monies the minister is expending is the monies of all of us collectively. So whatever he wants to do, he comes to Parliament with a budget. Now, once he comes with the budget, these are the things I want to do. And I agree with him when he said the budgets are projections. But the projections would have to be agreed upon and approved. And then appropriation is therefore approved. So if you go ahead and you are doing something outside what was appropriated for you to do, it is illegal. You remember when you were playing the tape of Honorable Ato, I said someone can even sue you.
Right.
Not necessarily even Parliament. So that is the first point. A very important point I also want to. Parliament requested the presence of the Minister for Finance. And the reason why Parliament requested his presence in the House was because of concerns raised by our constituents. And I believe that my good friend would have people in his constituency who are also affected. Now, if our constituents raise concerns about the way things are done, Parliament invited you. He once again disrespected, disregarded Parliament by giving excuses. He's the only minister who gives excuses anytime he's invited to appear before Parliament.
He's not the only one who...
I'm saying that he's the only minister who gives excuses anytime. Show me one single time Parliament invited him without him giving excuses. As I talked to you today, and we discussed this on your program, that I wrote to the ministry requesting to find out how much the minister has actually collected in the name of COVID levy and how much was spent for the purposes of free water and free electricity. Before Parliament rose, this minister refused to honor that invitation. And in fact, I have been insisting. Parliament requested the minister to appear to answer questions that are germane to the people of this country, that are of tremendous concern to the people who represents, and he gave excuses. Only for him to come and announce that they've gotten over 85%, subscription to whatever decision they are taking with regards to the debt exchange. Now, he said that the minister hinted the DDEP, in the budget. Hinting that doesn't mean it's an approval.
Right.
If I hint that I want to do this, it's different from Parliament approving detailed of how you want to do it. So the fact that there was a hint without the provision of a detail how it is going to be done cannot be a justification
I know
why
Parliament
the
has been
minister
on
is engaged in
recess.
what
I know Parliament has been on recess, but especially knowing since the end of last year that this dynamic was going to play out, that the DDE was in the works, were there any other processes of Parliament that could have been brought to bear to sort of, I don't know about reconvening, but to deliberate on this matter and get these details before now? Now that, the matter has been concluded.
The agency can only be determined by the minister and the government. If government thinks that this is what we want to do, and we are far behind time, the government could have communicated same to to the speaker, and the speaker could have called us, because if you look at the standing orders, the speaker can call you, even if you are on recess, the speaker can call you to come to Parliament for a purposes of dealing with an issue that is an emergency. Or even 15 members of Parliament can indeed force Parliament to reconvene, even if you are on recess. You have 15% of members of Parliament. I think that the MPP has that number that can constitute 15% of members of Parliament. So I'm saying that these are the issues that Honorable Atuforsen is raising. Another very important issue that you raise has to do with whether someone should be forced to charter a part in all this debt restructuring program. Because that is what they seem to be forcing the individual and pensioners to do.
Especially when we're looking at 80% participation and now we've crossed 80%.
And I'm not even too sure whether those figures are right. Because I wonder whether we take what this minister says to be true.
Are you saying you doubt what Finance Minister Kenneth?
But don't you doubt him? When he said that individual bondholders were not going to be affected, when he said that pensioners were not going to be affected, so whatever he tells us, don't you think that it should be fair that we doubt the figures he's providing to us? And in any case, why would you force people to charter a part in the debt restriction program that you have, when the people are saying that we want you to exempt us? And the reason why the people are asking that the minister or government should exempt them rather than they exempting themselves, that if there are some consequences as a result of this program or some benefits, so to speak, those who exempt themselves may not benefit from that. And if there are some moves that government will take, either to compensate those who have been exempted by government, they will not be affected. And I think that there is a legitimate reason why the people are demanding that exempt us rather than asking us to do what? To exempt ourselves. The list said about the arrogance of Gabi Ochildaku, the better.
Before you get to Gabi, so just stay with me in Parliament a bit. We're going to hear from the Finance Minister come tomorrow, hopefully, if he shows up in Parliament. If you're not satisfied with the answers he gives, what's going to be the next move of the minority? Are you going to do what Dr. Atuforsen says, trigger any processes to stymie the program?
Parliament has the capacity, and Parliament is clothed with all the authority to do so. If you check the standing orders of Parliament and even the Constitution of Ghana, as a very important arm of government that has the mandate and responsibility to hold the executive accountable. When the executive engages in something that we think that is inimical to the interests of the people of this country, the Constitution and the standing orders of Parliament gives us that level.
So you think the DDEP in its current form is inimical to the ordinary Ghanaian?
It is because of the concerns expressed by these people. Okay. Look, when my brother said that, look, he feels it for the people, pensioners and other people who are into this. Listen to the woman who was interviewed, I guess by your station. Said, look, people go into bonds with plans, with objectives, and they are enticed to go into them with plans. Now, if someone is taking 1,000 Ghana cedis, and maybe such an old woman or pensioner has about 3 grandchildren whose school fees the old woman or the old man has to pay. There are instances where parents of kids are dead and they have to be taken care of by their grandparents. Such a grandparent, how is he going to take care of these kids? How is he going to pay fees? How is he going to manage the excruciating economic conditions that we have all been subjected to? And the list said about the fact that we are in difficult times. Now, who brought us here? The impression is created as if the difficulty the people of this country we are facing today is occasioned by us collectively. It is occasioned by the recklessness of this government.
Some people will tell you, so quick point, some people will tell you that, I mean, our debt is accumulated over time, whether or not this administration alone has ballooned our debts by twice as much in its own term. But looking at the different dynamics, it affects all of us. No, I agree. So Akakpo did mention that, I mean, you can't be reckless and expect us, and you can't tell us to tighten ourselves when you yourself...
If it was only reckless, thievery, outright thievery.
By whom?
By the president and his gang of appointees.
How do you, what evidence do you have to...
The 5% of the Ken bond, do we still know who purchased it? As we see today.
Which bond?
The Ken bond. The $2 billion, dollar bond, the first bond of $5 billion that this government went to. Parliament, to the extent that Parliament requested the minister to come and
so just because you don't have the details of
I'm going to give you examples. This is just one. And you think that we do not deserve to know that you have gone in for bonds, and 5% of those who purchased it, when Parliament even invited the minister to appear before Parliament to answer this question, he was absolutely condescending. Apart from that, the outright robbery. Look, you have a government that had the courage to add $800 million in the Ameri negotiation. It took the vigilance of Parliament, $800 million. If this is not thievery, tell me which one is thievery.
Point Bay. Let me come to Collins Adumaku-Mensah. As we conclude the conversation, I'd also like us to look at the altercation, if you like, between the former Chief Justice Sifai Akufo and Gabi Otredako. You would note that when she picketed at the Finance Ministry the first time, there was practically no response from government operatives, communicators, the minister, or anything of the sort. But in recent days, we saw Gabi go on Twitter and take on claiming, just to paraphrase, that she should have known better, that this smacked of a publicity stunt, that she didn't seem to be properly abreast of the issues, and that if she would have done something like that, she should have done it long before, not at the tail end, sort of denigrating her participation in that protest at the ministry. Yesterday, she had some choice words for the president's cousin. What is your reaction to that entire development? I listened to Nana Obiri-Boahen, former Deputy General Secretary of your party, and he said Gabi's comments were in bad taste. And that, for people who want to pick it, this shouldn't be the response to them. What's your take?
Let me say, I still insist that my very good brother Ato Forsen did say that the appropriations mean the money is there, and if your station,
I think we've gone past that issue. But thanks for stressing it.
He never said that.
No, it's important because my colleague went ahead to say that what I talked about, Ato Forsen did not say so. If you want us to go back to the tape, we can listen to it. Ato Forsen did say that, and I disagree with him.
I think these
to clarify that matter.
Right.
No, he didn't say that.
My brother goes on to talk about thievery and the president is a thief and all that. And you ask him if he has any evidence. He could not provide any.
Oh no! Please, that's not true. When I started with the first example, I said I can give you litany. If you want, give me a minute of your time and let me enumerate the stealing,
directly
I think that conversation
perpetrated
can
and
be had.
supervised by the flag.
Gentlemen,
I can give you a litany of flag stealing.
Collins, give me a second. Collins, hold for me. Please let me moderate this. First point, when you were speaking, Collins did not interject. So please, let's do him the same courtesy. We're wrapping the conversation
But you
shortly.
interjected needlessly.
I interjected.
Yeah, needlessly.
Well, when there are followers,
you're not interjecting,
for example,
Collins,
asking you for evidence.
No, but you're not interjecting. And Collins was making it.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Collins, go ahead.
First of all, this is a brotherly banter. Don't worry, we are cool with it. We are cool with it. But on Mr. Gabi and CJ, these are my personal thoughts. You know, sometimes when situations happen, your reaction may be right, but you have to be careful when you make your comment. I mean, that's the kind of situation we are in now. All you should be doing is to be sympathizing and empathizing with people. It's as simple as that. I mean, if I have 2 million Ghana cedi and I've invested it in the Ghana bond, and I anticipate I'm going to get a coupon of maybe 10% per annum, which will give me about 200,000 a year or something of that sort. And I know inflation is 50%. What it means that the value of that money, that 200,000 coupon that I'm getting, already has gone off by half. And now I'm being told that because of the situation, government is unable to even pay me that 200,000 at the end of the year. And that government wants to renegotiate that particular payment to me. The best I can do to the person who holds the bond is to empathize with the person and not to be having a banter with the person. And I'm happy Gabi is speaking in his personal capacity as Gabi and not on behalf of the government. Because if you read the statement from the finance ministry, it goes completely contrary to other people trying to have a banter with others.
But some see him as a very powerful personality, cousin to the president, and it would appear that he has quite a say in goings on within your party. And some have said that it is in poor taste and it's going to affect the fortunes of the party. In fact, Nana Obrigboahin also alludes to that. How do you react to that?
And I'm saying that I don't doubt his closeness to the president. I don't have a problem with that. He's a cousin to the president. Everybody knows that. He's been with our party for a very long time. I don't have any problem with that. But I'm saying that in as much as he has every right to speak his mind at any point in time, I believe that the timing of those utterances must be guarded. I mean, who wouldn't be angry or frustrated that I've given money to government, and because of the situation, government is saying, I cannot pay you. Everybody will be frustrated. It is normal for anybody to be frustrated. I am saying that your reaction to that person or your conversation with that person should be more of a sober reflection on the situation, and then trying to encourage the person to accept the situation which we are all in, and then ask the person to help participate in the program that will invariably bring us back to our original position. That for me should be the approach. Right. So, as I said, I would have wished that this banter did not come up at all. The CJ.
So in other words, you're saying that Gabi could have avoided doing this?
Absolutely. And I'm saying that the CJ has every right to picket. She's a citizen of Ghana. She holds bonds that government intends to restructure. She's not happy about it. Let her rant. Your duty is to engage her and explain matters to her, and not to be having a banter with her. That is my position on this matter.
All right.
If it was Honorable Maria Brute or any NDC former minister who had picketed, I am telling you, he wouldn't be making the statements he's making. He wouldn't be making the statements.
But why do we have to?
Because in this country,
politics or politics wash this.
Because anything any member of NDC does, or any issue any member of NDC does, or anybody who has links with NDC, they quickly run to the football field of NDC MPP politics. And the reason why they do not have the courage to condemn Gabi is because it is Gabi. He is the unofficial prime minister of this country. He's been tweeting.
There is no such position.
That is why I said unofficial. That is why I said unofficial. He's been tweeting on every single issue. Now, can I finish?
What did I just do?
Can I finish? He's been tweeting on every single issue.
When President Mahama raised concerns about how reckless the finances of this country is managed by Ken Ofori-Atta and this government, Gabi went on attack. You people hailed Gabi for doing that. You see, when you turn your child to a lion, you'll be the first person he will devour when he grows very strong. But all these attempts to say that we are having these challenges, people should sympathize with government and understand. It's just like you left the doors of your room ajar when it was heavily raining. And after the rain finishes, your room is flooded with water, then it then dawns on you to go close the door. That is what this government is doing. When your debt to GDP is over 90%, there is no any way out. The only way out is to get these people out of government. And if you ask my brother sincerely to look into the cameras and tell you that in the heart of his heart, whether he thinks that there is a way out, no, because the Minister for Finance has no sympathy, no empathy for the people of this country. To the extent
but that's contrary to what he has said. He says, in fact, the picketers at the finance ministry, he actually said, look, you know, he sympathizes with them, he empathizes with them.
Cartoon scenario reality.
What?
Cartoon scenario reality. You know, in the cartoon world, everything is possible. So he creates the impression as if he sympathizes with them, when in actual fact he doesn't. To the extent that people came before him, shedding tears, he didn't give a jot. Why are we where we are?
Okay.
We are where we are because of the recklessness. Yet when we have a former Chief Justice who is affected by the action of government and exercising her democratic rights as enshrined in Article 21, Clause 1D, her democratic right, you have Gabi who thinks that that woman doesn't deserve the right to do what she is doing. What for?
Point made.
When people went to the Flagstaff House, including the current Minister for Finance, when President Mahama was there, they virtually attacked the Flagstaff House. All manner of names. The economy was 1,000,000 times better than it is today. Show me one single story that this minister can say that this is my achievement. This minister and this government is a disaster. And the only way, I mean, let's put aside this politics. The only way we can solve this problem is to put them out there. Sadly, this constitution and our democracy says that we can only do that in about 2 years' time. So we have to
and we'll stick to the tenets of our democracy.
I'm saying that the only certain is that we have to do that in 2 years' time.
Right.
I can imagine how agonizing it is going to be for the next
only time will tell. Gentlemen, let's wrap up the conversation. We've exhausted the issues we wanted to look at, but in some 35 seconds each. I'll start with you, Collins. What are your takeaways from this conversation? What are your final comments?
Well, it's quite clear to everybody that the government, I mean, even through the communication, government is thanking all those who participated in this exchange program. As you know, we are on the verge of getting an IMF program, and this was a very, very important prerequisite to having the program. We've been told by officials of government that once we cross this hurdle, it is likely that by the end of the first quarter, we're going to have an IMF program in place. I hope that comes to fruition, just to bring some respite and some fiscal space to Ghanaians. Yesterday also, I read something from the NPA that it's likely that we are going to have some reduction at the pumps going forward from next week. That is some good news for us, hoping that comes to fruition. But, my brother, all I can say is that thanks to those who participated in the program, and I hope that as quickly as possible we can bounce back to where we used to be, where we can have some comforts.
Okay.
Everybody can be comfortable in this country. So thank you for the opportunity. Greetings to my brother. I'm sure we are going to meet in Parliament.
Collins, thank you for joining the conversation. Collins Adomakumbenza is Member of Parliament for Ifi-Jakwa North. Some 40 seconds, final comments.
Have you listened to a local song sung in Tamale, Samanole?
I've heard of it. I think someone made reference to it yesterday.
You need to listen to it. This government is nothing but Samanole. There is no way we can get out of this mess, a self-inflicted mess.
Please explain to our audience what Samanole means.
Samanole means that debts and debts and debts, and it has a lot of interpretation.
I've heard losses.
Yes, it could be debts, it could be losses. There are a lot of interpretations that people can give to it. But the bottom line is that there are losses, there are debts, and that is what this government is noted to be. And the gentleman who sang that song, the mother is one of the leading NPP women, I think the branch women organizer within a particular constituency. It has reached a stage that those who even had some sympathy for this government can no longer sympathize with this government.
Right.
To be very honest. Now, when you attributed the challenges we are facing to the debt stockpile of this country, we should be looking at how much debt had this government incurred.
Right.
And every single promise that was made, this government reneges on those promises. But you see, and I agree with my brother, that at a time when people are going through challenges that are created by your incompetence, your corruption, and sometimes outright thievery, the least you can do to the people is not to add more salt to injury. You need to sympathize and empathize with them.
Okay.
And that is what we expect this government to do. But to conclude, this Minister for Finance must begin respecting Parliament. And I've said that the man is the Minister for Finance because he uses Oforiatta. That is the only reason.
All right.
That is the minister. Look, tell me, this is the Minister for Finance whose ministry was waiting for him, even when he was not around. Look, go swear affidavit, add Oforiatta to your name. Don't be surprised you appointed another deputy minister for trade.
That's how we're going to wrap the conversation this morning. You're always jabbing.
My good friend has been sent to Minister of Trade, and I wish him well.
Oh, you are talking of Sticker?
Yes.
But that's Stephen
The only difficulty is that the Ministry of Trade is divided into two, trade and industries. They have already two deputy ministers, one handling trade, one handling industries. I don't know which one my brother is going to handle, to be very honest with you. And that is going to create a lot of problems. Because if you have two...
Is Carlos Ahinkra still there?
No, Carlos is not there, but you have two deputy ministers there. You have Befi and the lady, one of our colleagues in Parliament. Now, you've appointed another deputy minister. Who is going to handle what? Because that's how the ministry is. So at any point in time, you have two deputy ministers at the Ministry of Trade, one handling trade and one handling industries. Then you've appointed another minister. I'm wondering what that minister is going to handle.
Well, thank you so much, Murtala, for joining the conversation. Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, Murtala Mohammed, and he joined us for the conversation as well. Do stay with us. We've exhausted the first end of our big stories, but there's a lot more from yesterday. That altercation, if you like, that trade-off between some former occupants of Commonwealth Hall and the Ghana Police Service. 18 of them out of about 200 have been apprehended, and they are said to be getting ready to be processed for court. We'll bring you the latest dynamics on that. Also, AM business coming your way this morning. Was there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm surprised the speed with which the police is arranging them before court. When a young man was gunned down in Tamale, the 14-year-old young boy, by police officers, nothing has been done. Several shootings in my constituency, nothing has been done. The police were informed. A statement was even made on the floor of Parliament by Honorable Harun Idrisu, and we all contributed. Nothing has been done. The speed with which the police act when it doesn't involve police officers is legendary. But when it involves police officers, you have a complete state of incommunicado. I was listening to your radio program that a gentleman who was killed, and it is nerve-wracking. If you listen to the documentary, yet nothing has been done by police officers. I think that it should be the interest of the police themselves to identify this miscreant among them, because they bring the good name of the police to disrepute. It is not just acting when it doesn't involve police officers. Right. People will begin to attach some importance and respect to the institution if they begin to deal with their kinds who engage in some of these behaviors.
Well, thank you very much for joining the conversation. The conversation continues from here after the break as we get into those other matters I made mention of. Do stay, we'll be right back.
The accommodation at the University of Ghana has been met with several agitations from students following the school's management's decision to revoke the residential status of continuing students. The students say the management of the university has refused to admit the continuing students contrary to the court's order. Eugene Bediako Jr. is the leader of the aggrieved students.
So what you are seeing here is a group of agitated students. Because as of 8 February, we had lost our residency on University of Ghana campus. Meanwhile, they gave us up to 10th February to make payments. Last Thursday, the High Court, a court of confidence, jurisprudence and jurisdiction, had given an order that the status quo should remain. And that means that people who were residents of Commonwealth or last academic year, continuing students, all of them are to be made to come back. So what we were expecting from members of management was to update our MIS web so that we will see Commonwealth Hall there and then go and make payments. And after we come here, we'll do manual registration and then we'll be given rooms. Everybody you see here, you can see their bags. They've been sacked from the UJ hostels because they have not been able to pay. And then our demands were simple. We cannot pay. The court has given an order. Take us back. How is that so difficult?
The aggrieved students protested against the school's management, demanding them to respect the court order and admit continuing students in the halls.
Boss, we want to make it emphatically clear today that the stone silent by the university management not to kowtow to the decision of the court is what? Tantamount to perjury. It is tantamount to what? Unlawfulness. And we want to let them know that we, the descendants of Father Bacchus, can never be intimidated.
But tension escalated as police and students were involved in scuffles over the school's silence on accommodation after an Accra High Court placed injunction on the implementation of the residential policy.
See what they are doing. Just beating them. See that man.
Other concerned students lamented the exorbitant hostel fee and demanded a reduction since it will hamper academic activities.
The thing is that they gave us some hostels that we should go there. And then that hostel, we are paying about 4,000. And then as we speak of today, they gave us deadline to 10th of February. But then as of 8th February, that thing has already disappeared from our MIS web. Those of us that were not able to pay. Myself, I'm one of the people who couldn't pay. And so yesterday, they started sacking the boys that did not pay, and then they are using the places there. They started sacking them. And so as we speak of today, we've been sacked from that house, and we don't know where we are going to.
You're still watching the AM show now. What you just watched is a report. We know that the police has arrested 18 people for their involvement in a scuffle on the campus of the University of Ghana on Tuesday. Now, the police says that the 18 suspects are in custody and will be put before court to face justice. The former residents of the hall were protesting what they see as management's silence on the accommodation crisis. This was after the court placed an injunction on the implementation of the residential policy. Joining us for this conversation is Dr. Clement Park, Deputy Ranking Member of Parliament's Education Committee. Doc, good morning and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning to you and good morning to viewers.
Now, from your side, what do you make of this whole situation?
Well, I must declare my position on this issue and to declare my natural biases. I am a product of Commonwealth Hall. I am an old vandal. In my days in the hall, I was a deputy chief vandal. I have served as the national organizer of the Old Vandals Association for 4 years. And I continue to be a part of the Old Vandals Association, the Parliament chapter. So this matter to me is personal. And I can say that the issue has not come formally to Parliament's Committee on Education. But I intend to draw the attention of the other leadership of the committee to what is going on. But as an alumni and an old vandal, I strongly believe that the conduct of the university management, as far as this issue is concerned, is very disappointing. We have been very forthright in expressing our misgivings with regards to the basis for which the hall master and senior tutor of Commonwealth Hall were suspended. We have complained about the lack of evidence to support the decision that the university management made, including deciding to change in a very ad hoc and discriminatory manner the accommodation arrangements as far as Commonwealth Hall and residents of Commonwealth Hall is concerned. And that was why we decided as all vandals to go to court to challenge the conduct of the university in general and to specifically seek an injunction to prevent the university from implementing arrangements that we believe were infringing on the rights of the students of Commonwealth Hall. So as I speak more as an old vandal than as a member of the Education Committee. And I can tell you that the old vandals in Parliament, we have decided to speak publicly on this matter. We are likely to address the parliamentary press corps this afternoon on this issue, and we are looking forward to even doing a statement on the floor of Parliament, because we don't believe that what is happening is fair. We don't believe that the university is treating this issue fairly and in an equitable manner.
But as a member of Parliament's Education Committee, don't you have anything else to say? Well, I understand your bias and I understand where you're coming from, but now we're talking to you as a member of Parliament's Education Committee.
Well, from the committee side, I would trigger a meeting because I believe that we have a role as a committee to ensure that teaching and learning and any matter to do with education is addressed. Mm-hmm. And so if the university has decided to implement a policy and those who are affected have chosen to go to a lawful court, mm-hmm. and the court has granted an injunction, we fail to understand why the university management has not shown respect and acted accordingly. Because the injunction was granted days way before what occurred yesterday did. Mm-hmm. So the question then is, why did the university management fail to act on the injunction by putting in place the needed mechanisms to ensure that as the court indicated, that the students, or if you like, the old arrangement should still be upheld pending a hearing of the substantive case. Mm-hmm. So it is now clear that the university deliberately chose not to respect the court's decision. And it is that deliberate refusal to do the needful. And by saying the needful would have been to put in place the arrangement, ensure that Commonwealth Hall is available and can be selected for the students to be able to select, you know, their hall and make the needed payments, and then be able to be assigned rooms. Mm-hmm. That is the responsibility of the university. But they chose not to do it deliberately. And what they then did was to go and bring police to essentially harass, brutalize the students. I've seen videos.
Yeah.
I've seen the videos. And it is terrible. We cannot live in a country where we don't respect our laws, where we don't respect decisions made by courts. Mm. What type of example is the university management trying to teach the rest of us, as well as the students that they say have done wrong, if the university will not even respect a court verdict? So I think that the committee clearly has a responsibility of calling on the university to respect the court order and to do the needful.
But would you not say that the university is acting in the best interest of the students?
Hello?
Yeah, Doc, I'm asking, would you not say that the university is acting in the best interest for the students?
Well, how is that possible? First of all, we all know the incident that precipitated all of this. Mm-hmm. The university was not able to adduce any evidence to substantiate the claim that that despicable and condemnable act was perpetrated by students resident in Commonwealth Hall. And so that in itself is one of the reasons why we are in court. We have filed about six different cases, including this injunction. Challenging all of these actions that we believe are not based on evidence. And even if it were the case that the university has been able to provide any evidence to confirm the participation of some students from Commonwealth Hall, what you need to do is to identify those students and let the laws deal with them. You don't, on the basis of the misconduct of a few students, try to disband an entire hall and introduce a policy that is targeting a particular hall. How is that fair?
Yeah. Okay, so just stay with me, Doc. I want to go to Bernard Ojo-Techi, who is the former JC of the president.
Yes, Bernard. I know him very well.
Of the Commonwealth.
When I was a lecturer at the university and a tutor for the upper, he certainly was there as the JCR president. Sure.
Let me just have a quick conversation with Bernard. Bernard, good morning and thank you so much for your time.
Hey, good morning. Let me say good morning to my fellow Vanda Chief. Chief, how are you?
I'm doing well, Bernard.
Great. Vandalism is on the road.
Yes, we will survive. We will prevail.
We have.
All right. Well, Bernard, we understand you were there yesterday. As a former president, I mean, why are you still interested in this matter?
Let me say very good morning to your cherished listeners and viewers across the globe. It's very painful and very sad that in a country whereby democracy is the order of the day, a university that's supposed to be a bastion of knowledge, academic prowess and excellence, begin to throw court orders to the dog. And I'm sad. When we were growing up in Legon, when we were getting that first degree education, we were made to believe that Legon is the primus inter pares, the first among equal. And when it comes to excellence in education, compliance, everything, it is Legon. Little did I know in February 2023 that professors and doctors in Legon don't respect court orders. Look, come to think about it. On 26th October 2022, when the university gave an order that they are changing Commonwealth, we could have resorted to violence and mayhem and anarchy. But we said no, that we live in a country by dictate of the law. So students of the hall proceeded to court. And in the wisdom of court of competent jurisdiction, an injunction has been granted. If in the thinking of the university management, the court erred, what are they supposed to do? You're supposed to go to the same place, the same court, and apply for either self-execution or make an appeal to quietly subsisting decisions. So to the extent that the High Court has given an order and professors and doctors of the academic environment are failing to act contemptuously, in my candid view, is bizarre, is preposterous, very unfair, and it is inimical to the growth of academic excellence. Look, if you go to UK, US, etc., the prime university over there, like the Harvard, the Yale, the Oxford, the Massachusetts, etc., is the student leadership that shows the way. And I have maintained that globally, you need dialogue to achieve results. If you read the master manager by Air Capone, he said that you can achieve a lot more done with a kind word and a gun than with gun alone. So in the wisdom of us, we have resorted to the law. We are compliant. If you as a professor think that the court has erred, we want to encourage you, the professor, the daughter, to head back to the court. And until that determination is made, the injunction must be respected. So in our view, I am sad, it is scandalized, and if you are not careful, we will get to a certain stage in Legon that when people feel their rights are being trampled upon, they will never resort to the court, but they will do it instantly. That is where we are heading to.
Now, I want to ask both of you gentlemen, I'll start with you, Bernard. Some would say that why are you making such a big deal out of this? Why don't you just take the new arrangement? Bernard?
Okay, so you see, what is the new arrangement seeking to do? Look, in 1948, Nana Demofrata said something that every society has a culture. And any attempt to truncate such a rich culture is characterless. What culture are we talking about? You are talking about almost 66 years of culture that has turned out former president. And my other senior colleague on the line, Chief Apak, is a product of the whole. If the so-called tradition and the culture, there's so much hate, is bad, will it have produced former president, former MB, former ministers, and even the current Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana? This is what we are talking about. And you see, my sister, I am not here to condone wrong and evil doing. If in the wisdom of University of Ghana, certain students have gone wrong, let the Lord deal with them. Why do you visit the sins of a father on innocent sons and daughters? If you feel that certain student clash, and that clash demands certain kind of punishment and reprehensive behavior, go ahead and apply the full rigors of the law. The point you are making is simple. The clash that happened in August 2022, identify the wrongdoer. And when you identify them, we bandits will stand boldly behind you to penalize them. The new order they want to create is very unfair, it is discriminatory, and it is also affront to the growth of academic excellence because education is a right, not a privilege. Let me tell you today, go to University of Ghana campus today. In a traditional hall like Komodo, you pay 500 academic year. If you go to the private hotels, you are paying as much as 12,000 for academic year. My sister, look at the economy of Ghana today. How many guardians and parents in Ghana can afford 12,000 only for accommodation, not to think of school fees? All we're saying is that education is a right and not a preserve for the rich.
Dr. Park, same question to you. I mean, what's happening here? Education activities are being, disrupted. Why don't you just accept the new arrangement?
As Bernard said, ours is not just a hall. It's a hall with a tradition and a culture that goes many, many, many years back. And we cherish our history, we cherish our tradition, and we cherish our culture. So one of the reasons why those of us who are not even currently resident in the hall, but are alumni of the hall, are up against what the university is trying to do, is because we know that this is targeted towards annihilating our long-held tradition and culture, which has served us well as individuals, has served Mother Ghana well, and it's even serving the global community. In fact, I, as I said, was privileged to be a deputy chief mandal. After I finished my studies abroad and I came back, I became a tutor in Commonwealth D Block, as well as managing Radio University. I became a member of the Old Vandals Association and the national organizer. And I can list at least not less than 100 vandals off my head who have played and continue to play very significant roles in the social, economic, and political evolution of this nation. How can anyone think that a hall whose culture has produced these calibers of people, like Nana Nketia of Esikado, like Tobe Afede Agbemefia, like Nana Domahini, like Chief Justice Enimia Boa, like President John Dramani Mahama, like Honorable Haruna Idrisu, like Honorable Joseph Osewusu, like Chief Justice Dons Jose. I can go on and go on and go on and go on. We are linked to our hall, and we cannot sit by and allow anyone to use illegal means and to try and destroy a culture and a tradition on the basis of a claim that some elements from the hall have misbehaved. If some have misbehaved, identify them and punish them. We are not averse to that. But to say that because you claim that some have misbehaved, you are going to change the entire status quo. You are going to change the entire dynamics of the hall. In, out, out, out. Which other halls are you applying the same punitive measures to? If it is acceptable, then apply it to every single hall on the University of Ghana campus. Don't confine it to only Commonwealth Hall. That we will not accept, because it is clear that our hall has been targeted.
Bernard, on the grounds, what's the way forward?
Hello?
Yeah, Bernard, so on the grounds, what's the way forward?
Yes, you want my final thought? Hello?
Yeah, Bernard, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, so I'm asking what's the way forward?
Oh, the way forward is simple. My senior junior has spoken, Chief Akakpo. But you see, we are not in for kind of creating a needless banter. all we want is for the status quo to remain. The way forward is very simple. One, currently we are in court. There is an injunction which must be upheld by the university management, respected by them. So if we begin to put the injunction to work, what it simply means is that all continuous students must be reinstated as they used to be. Number two, let us allow the court to make a determination. As we speak today, the High Court of Ghana is a venerable place to be. That is why, in our wisdom, we never resorted to violence. So the way forward is, number one, the court order must be respected. Number two, let us allow the High Court of Ghana to go full length in trial. And when the determination is made, I'm assuring Joy FM and your listeners and viewers across the globe that we Banda shall respect the court ruling that will come out finally. But before then, they shouldn't target Banda under the pretext of hatred, envy, jealousy. We will not countenance that. And we can assure them that we will fight this issue to its logical conclusion. By whatever means possible, we are going to do that.
And then the 18 that have been arrested, have you checked up on them? How are they faring?
Yesterday, you know, somebody said that, and let me put it in perspective. Every idiot can go to court. The fact that people run people doesn't make them criminals. These are people who were harmless. They were not armed in any way. They just came there to fight for a simple cause that grants us our accommodation. So, as we speak today, this morning, the lawyer of the student is pursuing the case. They are currently at the police station now. I have heard that the university want to process them for court. That is not within their right to say that. If the Ghana Police Service so think that these students have gone on the wrong side of the law, let the Ghana Police act accordingly. But that aside, if there is anybody for the law to deal with, that should be the Vice Chancellor and his officer, because they act contemptuously. If you can disrespect and disallow a court order to stand, that's a contemptuous act. So if there is anybody that the law must deal with, it's myself and the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana and any other officer who have, in their wisdom, disregarded the whole court order from the High Court of Ghana.
And Dr. Park, is this something we will see put before Parliament?
Well, as I told you, we have a caucus of MPs who are vandals.
Yeah.
And we have been discussing these matters like we've always done. Anything to do about our hall and related matters are always of concern to us. I can tell you that on our platform, we have been very, very engaged since yesterday when we started getting the videos and seeing the conduct of the police. And mind you, we have a lot of lawyers who are all vandals as well.
Yeah.
In addition to those who are judges and magistrates and even sit on the bench at the Supreme Court. So we are weighing all our options. We clearly are going to be making our disapproval of the conduct of the university known to the general public. We are drafting a statement, and if Mr. Speaker admits it, we will do a statement on the floor of Parliament, because we clearly cannot understand why the university is choosing not to respect the interlocutory injunction granted in favor of Commonwealth Hall students by a court of competent jurisdiction. So we have every reason to make our voices heard, and we are going to do just that. And as I said earlier, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament is an overvandal as well. I mean, we are many. Honorable Ajima Menu, Honorable Arune Drusu, Honorable Yusuf, Honorable Patrick Boama. At least I can count about 20 of us from both sides of the aisle. And we are united. Everyone knows that when it comes to Commonwealth, our tradition and our culture, politics does not divide us. So we are very, very unified in our decision to make sure that we uphold our motto, which is truth stands.
Gentlemen, all the best in your future endeavors. That is Dr. Clement Park. He is the Deputy Ranking Member for Parliament's Education Committee, and I also spoke to Bernard Odro-Techi, who is the former JCR President, Commonwealth Hall. We'll be following that story, and you can join us on all our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're JoyNews on TV. And it's Wednesday, courtesy EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. We've got AM Business. Today, we tell you how the Water Research Institute, a subsidiary of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, is seeking to boost aquaculture and address galamsey. Enjoy.
Hello, my name is Emma Davis. I will be engaging the director for the Water Research Institute, one of the 13 subsidiaries of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research Institutes. So he will be telling us what's the mandate of the institute, a few projects they've undertaken, and then he will also talk about the recently instituted center, the diseases center, and he'll be telling us why that came up and the activities so far. Hello, Prof.
Yeah, Emma.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
So, Water Research Institute. I know a lot of people. Water Research Institute, one of the 13 subsidiaries of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research Institutes. So he will be telling us what's the mandate of the institute, a few projects they've undertaken, and then he'll also talk about the recently instituted center, the diseases center, and he'll be telling us why that came up and the activities so far. Hello, Prof.
Yeah, Emma.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
So, Water Research Institute. I know a lot of people out there may not know exactly what the institute does. Can you please enlighten us?
Okay, maybe it's good first to let you know the mandate of the institute. So the mandate of Water Research Institute is to conduct research into all aspects of water resources in order to provide scientific and technological information services, and also to develop technologies and strategies for sustainable use, maintenance of our water resources in Ghana in order to enhance socio-economic development of the country.
So what are some of the researches you've undertaken? I understand you just ended the future dams in 2021, and then I think you have one with the Hungarian embassy.
Okay. In this case, so we carry out various research related to surface water, not only on surface but on climate change, and to see how these our water resources, especially in the midst of climate change, the various changes in our water and the impact of the climate change. Also, we look at the impact of the more impact on the anthropogenic activities like you have galamsey and stuff like that. How does it impact, and what are the strategies that can be put into place? And also, as you said, the future dams, we look at the dams, other current dams that are there, and see what is its main function, what can we do in order to optimize the use of water resources. You know, normally when in terms of using water resources, most of us look in terms of silos. So we have the electricity company looking at what it's going to provide. We look at the water company, what it's going to look at, and then all the various stakeholders. But in future dam and cream, what we'll try to look at how can these various stakeholders come together and look at how best we can optimize the use of our water resources in order to benefit the country, and also make sure that we are sustaining the use of water resources into the future. And that is why something like Future Dam came. And also other aspects which you are streamed to look at the resilience for our water resources. So anything that we need to look at as an institute to ensure that our water resources are being sustained, are being preserved, are being managed well, together with other stakeholders like Water Resources Commission and Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation. So we work together, but because we have much strength in research, so we conduct the research in all these areas to ensure that water resources are preserved and make sure we don't go into any challenges in the future. even though we have current challenges in the current situation, but how best we manage it to ensure that our resources are kept, not for this generation and then the generation in the future, so that when they come, they have the water resources to sustain their survival, because we should always remember that water is life.
I'm sure someone hearing future dams, they may link it to one district, one dam. Do you by chance in any way are working on that?
Well, in terms of one
district, one dam.
One district, one dam. It's an interesting, there are some we don't work as one because, you know, our activities does not bother on that. But how we do is to provide the support. So that if some people want to work on the dams, okay, so we are able to explore the water that is available around the system, either by using the surface water to create a dam or using the groundwater, because we do groundwater exploration. So in that case, the people want to have this dam, they want to measure what water resources are available. If this is used to create a dam, will it be sustainable? And if it's not sustainable, how do we explore the groundwater to supplement this? So we've done things like that in order to support the provision of water for dam.
Two things I want us to talk about from your divisions. Aquaculture and the one that focuses on Galamsey.
Okay.
Let's start with Galamsey because it has been a worrying issue in this country. What exactly has your institute done in this regard? Okay,
so over the years, we have looked at the water resources in our various river system, dams, and all reservoirs. And we also look at the quality and in terms of the quantity of the water. Well, quality becomes very important because you can have the water available, but when the quality is not good, you can't use it. So over the year, we have done that. Now, looking at that, so we have data and have advised over the years before the onset of the Galamsey. Now, with the onset of the Galamsey, we realize that from our data and our monitoring, we realize that the quality of the water was going down, becoming poor, because the introduction of water being very turbid. So you see like red and stuff like that. And then we have other chemicals that have been introduced into the water because of the things that are used for the extraction of the gold. So we had that data. And then we also know that when, you remember the government put an imposition, the ban on Galamsey, that's earlier. Now, when we follow that monitor, and also when we get this water, these data, we made it available to help advise other agencies. Currently, if you look at some of our water resources, the quality is very bad. And that's why people ask the crisis, are we going to go into crisis or something like that? So in terms of the surface water, some of them are very bad. Now, so currently what we're doing now is to partner with other businesses and other companies who have the equipment or the treatment system that are able to pick, even though the water is bad, they're able to abstract the water and then treat it for the use of water. And currently we are working together with a company that is coming from abroad, just to look at other and see how the people can receive the supply of water. So that is, but I believe that once the government take that responsibility as they're trying to do, it will help us recover most of these. But the fortunate thing also we have is that we have quite a huge underground resource as a country, so we are able to explore. But what you don't want to do is to have our groundwater also being contaminated by other stuff. If that happens, then we will be in serious trouble. But so far, so good. But we need to do our best to ensure that we impose the ban and ensure that our water resources are kept. Because without that, the future generation will be in big trouble.
Aquaculture, I'm sure a lot of people think fish farming, just fish farming when we talk of aquaculture, but aquaculture is quite huge, right? And are species in our water bodies dying? Are they lessening, or what is happening in that ecosystem?
Okay. In water research, we have the Aquaculture Research and Development Center, and this is located at Akosombo. Now, what we do over there, we're looking at about 3 culture fishes. There are some fish you can culture them, some you cannot culture. So one of them is tilapia, which you can culture, and which I'm sure you like tilapia. And then we also have the catfish, which is catching up with tilapia very heavy. Now you find people setting up point and kill centers even in Ghana. In fact, in Nigeria, it's one of the best delicacy they go. And then we have other fish that we call the boniton fish, which is called supoku, the very big one. So these are currently what we are doing. In terms of development of the species, water research actually has developed something we call the Akosombo strain, where we pick different fishes from the different parts of the country, and we had a breeding program where we are able to develop these tilapia so that it can grow faster than the one in the sea, in the rivers. So it goes between 30 to 50% in terms of the growth, so that the time where you're expecting, if you culture it, the time, the maturity period, as in our lake, that will take about 8 months, now reduced to about 5 months to 5.5 months. So currently that's one of the things that we're doing. So we also have culture, we have what we call the broodstock, the parents group, that can then produce the eggs. We then develop to the fry, we develop to fingerlings, and the aquaculture farms come to buy it. We also provide the necessary training for them so that they will be able to culture these fish. And currently we also doing the table size where we put them on the cages. It's become very clear now that aquaculture on the cage, which is on the water, is doing very well compared to the one in the pond. But also we have developed some few support systems and technology support the rearing of tilapia and catfish in our ponds or in the tank. And also now we are working on the one in the tarpaulin. So we raise the tarpaulin and use the tarpaulin to rear tilapia, catfish and other stuff.
Checking out your website, I chanced on one scientist's article on the Kole Lagoon, and so I want to, the point I'm driving to is your environment division. Our president made mention of making Accra one of the cleanest cities, making our lagoon, the gutters, clean, making sure that our water bodies are safe, and all that. I want to find out your institute's, role in this bigger agenda.
So some of the things that we do is to research and look at the nature of these gutters, the nature of our environment, and see what is the harm to our human population. We have done some of these and see some of them. We have reported of cholera, we have reported other related diseases, and we have also encouraged the need to keep the environment clean.
You just mentioned diseases. I believe that's the basis for setting up the diseases center.
Okay, so we call the Biomedical and Public Health Research Unit. It's looking at both water-related diseases, it's looking at other infectious diseases, including COVID-19, and it's also looking at non-communicable disease that look at diabetes, hypertension, and other public health related diseases. So that is the research that is currently ongoing. So we're looking at the causes, we're looking at diagnostics, we're also looking at developing preventive strategies, looking at control strategies to support, because we do this together with the Ghana Health Services and other health-related institutions. So that is what we do.
You have a program coming up. Can you talk a little about it?
Okay, so we're looking at testing, COVID-19 testing. Some of them is free, some of them is half paid. And then we're also doing blood donation, and that is organized by the Research Staff Association of the CSIR. So they are working together with Biomedical and Public Health Research Unit, taking advantage of the presence of the COVID-19 testing laboratory, and then with that working together also to ensure that we donate blood, because which is very, very important means of supporting our health system. So these are the two things that will happen very soon. And I must say that in terms of the COVID-19 diagnosis and testing, the CSIR COVID lab, which we call it, has contributed significantly. In fact, it started in the early part of the 2020 when COVID emerged in Ghana, like March 2020. And since then, the CSIR COVID-19 testing lab has been involved in doing COVID for the nation. So if you go to the Ghana Health Service website and you look at the accredited labs, you find CSIR COVID-19 lab over there. And we also been doing other working and doing other research relating to COVID-19. We also have the pharmaceutical section that also looking at herbs, the role they can play, herbs, in terms of looking at for treatment for other diseases, and to support also herbalists in terms of looking at a good quality herb and make sure that it meets the FDA requirements. So these are some of the things that we are doing.
Thank you very much, Prof, for your time.
Thank you too.
Professor Mike Osei-Atwene-Boana is the Director for Water Research Institute, a subsidiary of CSIR. Thank you for making time. My name is Emma Davis.
That was Emma Davis with Business Aim Business, and it is proudly sponsored by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. Now, are you looking for a job in the world of technology? Are you looking for a platform that equips you to land your dream job in technology? Then the 2023 edition of the Tech Job Fair is for you. And joining me to have a conversation on that is Mr. Ernest Otsin, who's the project manager for the Tech Job Fair 2023. And we also have David, who's the executive director, Institute of ICT Professionals, Ghana. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you so much for your time.
Good morning.
Everything okay?
Yes.
You guys are looking very good in your kaftans.
Yes.
Yeah.
We promote Africa.
We promote Africa. That's good. Now let's talk about the Tech Job Fair and what's it about.
Yeah, the Tech Job Fair is an annual event. This is the third one. The first one we started in 2021.
Okay.
That was virtual because of COVID, but we went big last year at Accra International Conference Center. And this year, we want to make it even bigger at the same Accra International Conference Center. It's an event that we bring together tech enthusiasts, job seekers, employers, development partners, and the entire ecosystem of technology in Ghana.
Okay, talking about the entire ecological system, who can be there? So you say job seekers. What kind of job seekers? Anybody, or you have to be specific technology and tech?
No, now tech is like an enabler
Yeah.
across all industries. So we need anybody who is interested in technology-related jobs. For example, digital marketers.
Okay.
People, graphic designers, database administrators, and any other person that is interested in things that to do with technology.
Okay.
And every industry we have some tech-related rules that are there. Yeah.
Okay, let me come to you, Ernest, and you tell me why you are actually organizing this tech job fair.
Well, thank you very much. The reason is very simple. We now live in an era where technology has indeed taken over almost everything that we do.
Yeah.
And we also know that we have a very serious unemployment situation on our hands as a country.
Definitely.
Now, the question is it that the jobs exist but people cannot find these jobs, or these jobs do not exist at all? Now, our research shows that a lot of the jobs exist.
Okay.
Except that getting the right set of skills to match these jobs has become an issue. So one of the objectives of this particular fair is to ensure that we bring the job seekers and the employers to interface, and then to see how best we can find that missing link. The jobs are there.
Yeah.
Why are we not getting persons to fill
those
places? So that's one of the key objectives of this particular job fair.
So is this just limited to only Ghana, or we'll have like employers who are international, so you can be here in Ghana but you're working for an international company?
Yeah, so it's now we live in a global village because of internet and technology as a whole. So the program is also going to be streamed live. We'll have partners that will be connecting from different parts of the world. If you are not able to make it to the Accra International Conference Center, you can still join us online via Zoom applications, and it's very, very interactive. You'll be able to participate in the Tech Job Fair. I also just want to add that, as the project manager mentioned, sometimes also we realize that people have their CVs nicely done, but they actually don't know the requirements of the employers.
Okay.
So the Tech Job Fair is also an opportunity for job seekers to actually know what the employers are looking out for.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a lot of employers there. Jobberman, which is an agency that runs employment, more like an aggregator that helps people to find jobs.
Yeah.
Will be there. They have over 500 jobs on their portal, so people can actually go through and find out the jobs that they need.
Yeah.
So I think it's not only for people to find jobs, but also to understand what job seekers are looking out for, and what employers are looking out for, and then they can also go through training or go through some form of coaching, and then find a job.
Okay, still.
Yes, so just to add to what David said, this fair is actually being sponsored by a German foundation called AFOS Foundation.
Okay.
And they are getting support from the German government.
Sure.
The GIZ is also very much involved in this particular project because they have also been running an Invest for Jobs program in Ghana for some time now. There's a lot of foreign participation in this particular fair, which is what really excites me. So there are lots of companies that are coming from outside, and these are companies that are looking for experts in Ghana to work from remote locations. So at the last count, we have more than 10 foreign companies that are participating in this particular fair. And job seekers will then have the opportunity to interact with these companies. One of them is the Netherlands Trust Fund, which is also going to exhibit. Actually, we're going to have 50 exhibitors at this fair. And as part of the exhibitions, they will be telling people how they can work remotely.
Yeah.
Because there's actually a workshop we're running on freelancing.
Yeah.
So how do you stay in Ghana and still get connected to job opportunities outside the country?
Okay.
Almost every day we receive such requests, but getting persons to fill the position has become an issue for us.
Yeah.
That is why we think it's a very good opportunity for every young person listening to us. If you are home now, looking for a job, you want to do something on your own, this is a very unique opportunity to come and meet all these foreign companies that are going to participate in the fair.
Okay, well, David mentioned something about CVs, that people will, bring in their CVs, but they don't really know what requirements. So besides me being a job seeker, is there anything else I can expect at the job fair? Maybe a seminar on how to write, or like a workshop, or how to, what to attend, anything?
Right, so we want to make it very interactive. So we will have the breakout session, we'll have the different room for CV clinic, different room for interview session, different room for freelancing. How do you become a freelancer? What we call the gig work. You get part-time jobs to do. You can be doing your full-time job, but still have some part-time jobs to do. Things are hard these days. People need maybe more than one job. And tech jobs are jobs that you can easily do as part-time jobs, So we're also going to coach them on how to assess these part-time jobs. And then, so you can even have a job already, but come around, check. Maybe you can just find an additional job to do, not to take the hours of your employer, but also to be able to do both. Both. And we realize that most people, when we talk about these things, they think that it's just some kind of story that we tell. It's not really true. But I want to encourage every young person. The first thing you need in life is information. Come and get the information and then decide what you want to do.
So talking about information, are there some misconceptions about the tech job, about the tech industry you would like to clarify?
Well, one of the misconceptions is that it's only for men. It's a male-dominated area. But then the theme for this fair is leveraging technology to create inclusive and sustainable jobs. Emphasis on inclusive. So we are looking at how best to encourage women especially. Now, the Ministry of Communications and then the Chamber of Telecoms, they have launched a special initiative they call STEM, Seat for Ladies in STEM. And through that particular program, they're encouraging more women to get into the STEM space, that's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So we are encouraging more women to attend this particular fair. We're also encouraging persons with disability because we have made arrangements to actually accommodate them. And then there are particular job agencies and organizations that also have interest in working with the persons with disability. And because of that whole idea of inclusivity, the tech space is not just for, able-bodied men. It's something that every other person can come on board to, benefit from. So we are actually dealing with all those misconceptions that yes, it's a male-dominated area. No, they're encouraging more women to attend this particular job fair.
Okay, so who are some of the exhibiting employees?
So as you mentioned earlier on, we have development partners, we have job agencies, we have companies that will be exhibiting. We will have 50 exhibition booths. We have MTN will be there, Jobaman will be there. Lene Services that have been operating in this space for over 25 years will be there as well. We have our partners, AFOS Foundation. They are one of our main partners that are organizing. We are organizing this together. They will be there. GIZ as well. We'll have a separate networking session for businesses so that we can have more conversations about how to create jobs, how to create opportunities for our young people. So they will also be there as well. We have some of our very, industry players like the Chamber of Telecoms. They will be there. They are also one of our partners. And then all the members of the chamber will also be there.
So a very, for me, I don't have any experience in tech. I'd like to say, the only tech I know is my laptop, my phone, and your basic tech. For someone like me, am I encouraged to come? Is there space for a person like me, or it has to be someone with some sort of tech experience, some sort of tech knowledge? Can I just come with zero tech knowledge, zero tech experience?
You are the kind of people we are looking at for. So people who basically have even very little experience or no experience at all with technology. Those are the persons we are targeting. Because like David said, technology struggles across different sectors.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be a hardcore technician or a hardcore software developer in order to benefit from technology.
Yeah.
Technology is an enabler for all sectors. So you don't have to be a core technology person. Persons like you are very much encouraged to come because of all the partners that are coming. Like David said, 50 exhibitors.
Yeah.
And these include more than 10 foreign companies. Some are coming in from Switzerland, some are coming from Germany. They're all coming to exhibit what job opportunities they have so they can get people to work remotely.
Okay.
So I would like to emphasize that if you're a young person and you are looking for employment opportunities, you cannot miss this particular one. Just come to the Accra International Conference Center. You can just go to our website, techjobfairghana.com.
Okay.
And you just register. We get all your details. There's a short survey you take when you register. And that helps us to know who you are, the kind of skills you have, and how we can match you to companies that are looking for your kind of skills.
Okay.
So it's a very great opportunity.
Yeah.
And let me say that it is free of
Absolutely
charge.
free.
Absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
All right. Can you just share your contact details?
So to get in touch, please contact 0242 912 or 0201 233 215. I repeat the numbers, 0242 912 027 or 0201 233 215. If you want to exhibit, you have jobs, you want to exhibit, you are looking for young people to fill some roles in your company, please get in touch. If you are a job seeker, you're sitting at home thinking, where am I going to find a job this year? Please just come to the Tech Job Fair. If you are connecting from different parts of Ghana and you cannot make it to the fair, go online, techjobfairghana.com, register, we'll send you the link so you join us virtually.
Thank you, gentlemen. I look forward to being there. I will come to just, check it out and see how it
You will
goes.
see some cool things.
Some cool things, right? And especially I like your theme, leveraging technology to create inclusive and sustainable jobs. So if you're interested or looking for a job in the world of technology, the Tech Job Fair 2023 is the place to be at the Accra Conference Center on the 22nd of February from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the fantastic thing is that it is absolutely free. My guests were David Gori, who is the Executive Director of the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana, and I also had Ernest Watson, who's the Project Manager of the Tech Job Fair 2023. Are you looking for a job in the world of technology? Are you looking for a platform that equips you to land your dream job in technology? Then the 2023 edition of the Tech Job Fair is for you. The venue, once again, is the Accra International Conference Center. Date is Wednesday, February 2022 on the February 22nd, 2023. Right? Sharp. And then 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the theme is leveraging technology to create inclusive and sustainable jobs. The organizers are the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana and Air Force Foundation. The supporters and the exhibitors, or some of the exhibitors, the German Development Corporation under the Invest for Jobs program. We also have Jobman, also Lane Services. We also have MTN, GIZ, AHK, Netherlands Trust Fund, Admin Telecom, amongst others. How you can call them or contact them on 0242 912 027 or 0201 233 215. For more information, the job fair is free and open to all of you. Now let me tell you about water and how water is life. Awake is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. We have the perfect sizes for all purposes, 330 ml and 500 ml bottles to fit your pockets and bags. We also have 750 ml for the heavy drinkers and 1.5 liters for those who always want more. Our 19-liter jar bottles are ideal for homes and offices. All you must do now is drink Awake Purified Drinking Water wherever you go. Choose a bottle of Awake Purified Drinking Water today and get quality hydration. Away purified drinking water, one for life. Remember, for every bottle you buy, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. Another quality product by Casapreco Company Limited. For bulk purchase, you can please call 026 235 1251. This advert is FDA approved. You're still watching The AM Show. We'll be back after this.